Hello and welcome to Aggie Talk. My name is Patrick Figueroa, and I'm here joined with Omar Navarro and Josh Caldwell. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. You already know. I'm excited
I'm
to talk
doing all right.
a lot. We got a lot of topics to hit. We haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, it's
I know
been
we got a lot of stuff to hit.
like you guys are saying, a ton of stuff. It's been a few weeks since we last recorded since we last recorded an episode, and a lot has happened in the sports world. We got, really like it's honestly a pretty good time to be a sports fan, especially with all the storylines that are happening. We got the NFL with their training camp starting. MLB trade deadline is currently going, and the deadline is actually this Friday. So while there have been some trades, there's still more to come, and we're react to that and make some predictions. The NBA finals have just ended, and we're going to be talking about that and maybe give a little bit of a preview of what is to come in the NBA offseason. And there's just so much other stuff we can hit on, such as the Olympics are going on right now. The hockey, they just had an expansion draft, which I know none of us probably do follow hockey, but I just think the expansion draft is really cool. So who knows, maybe we could talk about that. And yeah, there's just so much going on. It's a lot of stuff, but we're gonna get started with the NFL. Like I said, training camp is right now, and it's just happening, getting started for a lot of teams. And I think we could start with what I've been like one of the bigger announcements was the Dallas Cowboys were going to be featured on Hard Knocks, the HBO program that is so good. I always recommend people watch it. It's super entertaining, and with a team like the Cowboys, like it's gonna have a lot of eyes on it. They're love them or hate them, you're usually wanting to see what happens with them. I know we got a Cowboys fan in here with Omar. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys being featured on Hard Knocks, and what are some of the things you're gonna be looking for?
Honestly, I love it. I love the idea. I know there's been a lot of talk of, it could be distracting and all this stuff, but honestly, for me as a fan, it's like being able to the more behind the scenes footage and stuff you can get of your team, the better. I know the Cowboys, for every home game they had, they always had the sounds of of the sideline. So they have some players mic'd up and they have a short clip, and I always enjoyed those. But now having the Hard Knocks thing, I think it's always really cool to see that. So I can't wait, because there's a lot of we touched on it when we were in the group chat, but there's a lot of topics that the Hard Knocks is going to be able to get to. The rookies, the incoming rookies, they have a personality. They're really fun. They're going to be. I know there's going to be some storylines around that. Maybe some players making the teams. Zeke is going to be a big storyline too, if you can get to elite status, which Patrick doesn't think he could, but I think he will. The obvious, Dak coming back from injury. You got the linebackers, Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. It's going to be a prove-it year for them, for sure. So there's a lot of topics that we can hit. The Mike McCarthy, he's going to be under the pressure to win. So for those who say oh, Hard Knocks is a distraction and everything, I don't really see it as a distraction, because regardless, everything in training camp is recorded anyways. So it's who really it's just the only difference is it's going to be played for the world. So yeah, I'm excited, and I already know that this specific season of Hard Knocks is going to break a lot of records.
What about you, Josh? What are you thinking about seeing the Cowboys on Hard Knocks?
I love it. I think that the best season before the Cowboys, I think, would probably be the Cardinal season. And those seasons are good because they have defensive quality, and that's what you want from Hard Knocks. You want all of your players to be able to showcase themselves and their personalities, but you also want to show that the team is going to have some progress. And the Cowboys are one of those teams that's always on the fence. They're either going to show some progress, or you're going to have the kind of season that they just had. I am excited about Ezekiel. I think this year, more than last year, because he got paid last year, he's got something to prove. So I hope the Cowboys do come out, even with the Hard Knocks. I don't think it's a distraction. I think it gives the Cowboys the showcase that they need to become America's team again. And that as a Texans fan, and the battle for Texas is real strong. The Cowboys are probably taking it. I hope they make that leap. I hope Ezekiel himself makes that leap. I saw Dak making throws at training camp, so I'm really excited to see him back after that injury last year. But I think the Cowboys will be back on top. I would place my bets right now to say Cowboys winning the NFC East.
I don't know.
Hey.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I don't know about going back to being America's team. I think that never ended. I think if you look at the highest rated games, we had like Ben DiNucci starting a game at quarterback, and it was still one of the highest rated games of the year.
Well, it was
It was
what
Sunday Night Football. It was the only game on.
But it's
exactly.
Still it was still one of the highest Sunday Night Football games of the season, anyways. So it's like the allure of the Cowboys is always going to be there. It's the reason why they're the most valuable, and also like come on, if you told Jerry Jones that, you know, do you want the Cowboys to be on Hard Knocks, he would, if he could.
He's not going to say no.
If he could, the Cowboys would be on Hard Knocks every year.
Every season, every single season. And that's the one thing I like about Jerry Jones is he is about his money. So he will spend it, but he wants it back tenfold at the end of the day. And that's why I'm hoping Ezekiel pays off.
No,
but it's like Patrick said, because love him or hate him, you're going to watch the Cowboys. And that's
Time
the sad
out.
part.
I just got a notification about the Cowboys. Apparently Dak could miss a few weeks after this muscle strain he just suffered today. So I just got the notification from Sleeper. He could miss a few weeks.
Oh man. Okay. Look, prayers up to Dak Prescott.
You know, right when I saw the injury, or like what it was officially, I searched it up online and I was like, what's the recovery time for this? And it said like usually it's like a week. If it's like a bit more serious, it's like 2 weeks. So like if he does miss a couple weeks, like I'm not super concerned of like he's gonna miss extra time, because unless it's like unless it's a grade 3 strain, like then he'll miss a long time, like a month. But aside from that, like I wouldn't be surprised, and I would honestly just sit him out. So like
let him rest preseason and then show up in the season perfectly healthy. Training camp is one of those where now is where you want to get the injury so you can come back in the season and work harder. And the Cowboys definitely need him. I prayers up to Dak, man, because he been struggling the last season and a half. He's been struggling. So
and honestly, when you realize like most of his offseason has just been rehabbing the ankle, like I doubt he had a lot of like, you know, like throwing and stuff like that. So for him to kind of like maybe he went a little bit too much, too quickly, you know, maybe because it wasn't the shoulder, so it's like maybe he just went a little too much too quickly and then just I guess pulled something or something. But I'm not like super concerned. So I'm not like super concerned. But I mean, going back to I wanted to hit your Ezekiel Elliott point. I think he's gonna have a monster season again. I know Pat is like the supreme.
Just quick question,
He's
Josh.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Am I having that bet with you and Omar, or is it just Omar? Like I
didn't
know.
No, it's me too, because I'm jumping in there. Because I feel like he's also going to have a monster season.
For those of you guys who don't know, we have a bet that I basically said my running back Najee Harris is going to have a better season than Ezekiel Elliott. Which
I do not think so.
I buy into the talent of Najee. I think he's a better running back than Zeke, and I can't wait for him to prove it this year. So go back to what you're saying.
I'll buy into the talent, but like, how old is y'all's quarterback?
That just means more carries for him, so I will take that.
It's going to be more – it's going to be – they're just going to be stacking the box, and then they're going to be like, let's see if Ben's noodle arm can beat us. That's every week. But going – like, apparently Zeke is at 218, which is the lowest he's been since he was at Ohio State. And, like, you can honestly see it, and, like, he looks just better. Because I remember, like, last offseason, like, you look at him and he looked a bit like –
he was looking a little flabby.
Yeah, he looked a bit big. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just like he needs to work himself into shape and stuff like that. But like even throughout the season, like he didn't look good. But now he like legitimately looks like he's in shape. He's looking quick. He does need to shore up some of that fumble issues. That was a bit concerning because he was never really he never really fumbled the ball his first couple of years. And last year, for some reason, it just came out of nowhere. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like. I'm excited for Zeke's bounce back. The other day I was thinking, I'm like, you know what?
Jerry Jones looked good in the do-rag.
But the other day I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? They're gonna get back Blake Jarwin too with Dalton Schultz. It should be an interesting matchup as we have Ryan Cohen in here. What's up, Ryan? But yeah, I'm super excited, and I know Hard Knocks is gonna be must-see TV. I already know it.
Yeah, welcome Ryan Cohen. First time we've had him in this episode for a while. So, I mean, I guess we could take a little bit of a break from NFL. We'll get back to it later since we just got our baseball expert in here. And with big stuff that's happening right now in the MLB with the trade deadline, again, approaching this Friday, a lot of stuff has already happened, and there's still a lot more to come. Ryan, how are you feeling about, this trade deadline and with what's happened so far, and what do you expect going forward?
Yeah, good to see you guys. It's been a busy summer for me, but I'm glad I could hop on for a minute here. Trade deadline's gnarly. It's like it goes from super boring scrolling on Twitter for 2 hours to, I swear, trades happen in bunches where they're like 3 and 5 minutes. Oh my God, Passam's tweeting, Rosenthal's tweeting, everyone's going nuts. And those are the fun periods. So today's been a good one. The Starling Marte deal for Luzardo really surprised me this morning. Certainly didn't think Gallo was going to the Yankees. I got a text from a friend in an MLB. Yeah, that threw me off.
Sorry.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying Gallo to the Yankees threw me off. I got a text this morning from a friend in an MLB organization, not the Padres, that said that Gallo was definitely being traded today. So I honestly assumed the Padres because I knew that they were like super in on him. Didn't happen, but I don't really see the fit for Gallo in New York just because they're so power heavy already and they have a lot of swing and miss. But I don't know. I think Gallo's a good player. I would have happily had him on the Padres. I think the big names now still to be dealt are Scherzer and Trey Turner from the Nationals. I think those both have the potential to either not be traded or completely shake up the playoff picture if they are traded. There are other guys around the league that will be moved before the Friday deadline, but I think those two are the biggest moving the needle names that have yet to be moved and might not be moved, unlike a Story where it's Trevor Story. It seems pretty likely that he will be moved.
So, hey, Ryan, I got to ask you something really quick. Are you surprised because of the Trey Turner thing? Because that kind of caught me off guard, obviously the Nationals aren't super hot this year, right? But it's like Trey Turner is like one of those players where I was like, you know what, like he's going to be part of that core for the Nationals. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty shocking. Like he still has one more year of under contract, but like to trade him now, like I don't know what you really thought about that.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was most other teams. The reason I'm surprised is because the Nationals are notoriously buyers at the deadline. Even when they're not necessarily like a World Series team, they've been hesitant to sell. And once Scherzer became somewhat available, and again, they haven't been dealt yet. So it's hard to say that they're complete sellers when they haven't sold anything yet. But if they do sell, then this is when you would get the most value for a Trey Turner. And outside of Turner and Soto, Schwarber's a rental. Josh Bell is mostly a rental. That pitching staff is Strasburg's out for the year. Scherzer's going to get dealt or he's out at the end of the season. Patrick Corbin's been terrible. There's not really a young core right now in Washington outside of Juan Soto. And Juan Soto's an MVP candidate. I mean, the dude's phenomenal, but it's a stars and scrubs lineup at its best. And right now, outside of Turner and Soto, it's Alcides Escobar and Josh Bell having a bad year and a bunch of other veteran players, Josh Harrison. I mean, it's not good players.
So you're more on like the sell a year earlier than a year later, I guess, right? Like I like Turner at least because if you're gonna enter this new era of like the Scherzers and the Strasburgs, it's like that era is kind of done. Like it doesn't really make sense to pay Trey Turner big money because he's obviously gonna get huge money, right? So might as well just.
Yeah, I mean, look at the shortstop market right now. It's $340 for Tatis and $341 for Lindor, and Turner's been Turner's certainly been better than Lindor this year. Tatis is probably the MVP of the National League if the season ended today, but Trey Turner's a top 10 player in the National League. And that guy's a stud, so he's going to get paid. And you're looking at around $350 million right now for shortstops. Now Turner's a little bit older than Tatis, way older than Tatis, a little bit older than Lindor, but I still think he'll get paid. And in terms of value for the Nationals, the half-season rentals don't really get that much value. Luzardo, who has talent, is like the highest. I was surprised they gave up that much for a half-season Starling Marte. Rentals don't give that much. Look at Manny Machado when he was dealt to the Dodgers. The Dodgers didn't give up that much for a really, really good player in Manny Machado. There are lots of great players who are traded for not that much when it's only a half season. So if you want to maximize the value, now is the time to do that. And if they're calling it an end to this window, which, by the way, the window was successful. It won a World Series. So you can't really argue against that. I think it's a successful era of Nationals baseball. And I think as long as you hold on to Juan Soto, you still have that holdover piece going forward, who's still young. He's only 22. It makes a lot of sense to deal Turner right now.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Pat.
I was just gonna ask because there's another. Unless you're wanted to keep talking about the Nationals, Omar. I was gonna ask, like, what were your thoughts on the Adam Frazier trade? Knowing that you're a big Padres fan, and like I like the move in terms of for the Padres, but it also kind of causes some questions to that lineup. Like, where does that move Cronenworth? Where sometimes you're gonna have to take out Will Myers if you want to put Adam Frazier in the outfield. So, just what are your thoughts as a whole on the Adam Frazier?
Yeah, it impacts Hosmer, Myers, and Jurickson Profar much more than it does Cronenworth. Cronenworth will find at bats every day. He'll either be at second, or if Frazier's at second, then Cronenworth will be at first. Cronenworth is probably the least affected by the Frazier deal. As a Padres fan, I'm very happy about it. It caught me off guard. I totally didn't see it coming. I don't think most people saw Frazier to the Padres, but you get the best contact hitter in the National League this year. It's hard to argue against that. And if you look at the Padres lineup, Frazier this year alone is having a better version of a Jake Cronenworth season, and Jake Cronenworth is an all-star level player. So you get basically two Jake Cronenworths on top of a Tatis who has the power and speed and is obviously a different level hitter, and then Manny Machado, and all of a sudden that top four, it's really hard to find the out because you have two contact bats and you have two guys hitting it out of the park pretty easily. That's why I like it for the lineup. Now, Hosmer will get less playing time because Frazier will play at second and Cronenworth will play at first. Myers will get less playing time because when Frazier's in the outfield, Hosmer will be at first, and then Cronenworth at second. Profar will get less playing time because he's usually the first guy off the bench. Now he's not because Frazier can play left, right, and second, which is the same position that Profar does.
So hold up? I had a quick question. So it seems like your Eric Hosmer feelings. I feel like I kind of know what you feel about Eric Hosmer. Do you think like the Padres are just gonna have to like I guess bite a bullet and just trade away like maybe an interesting prospect to just get rid of him at this point? Because I think he still has a good amount left on that contract, right?
Yeah, he's got 4 years left. Eric Hosmer is the biggest disaster of a contract the Padres have ever given out. It's not particularly close. That dude is the most stubborn waste of space on the team. On a team full of fun, young, swaggy dudes, he is just the most boring, vanilla, terrible defender. I have no idea how he won 4 gloves after watching him over the last 3.5 years. He is so stubborn in his hitting approach, which just does not work because they shift on him, and he continues to hit hard ground balls into the shift, which are double plays. And when people say how clutch he is, that's all negated by the number of double plays he grounds into to end an inning in a rally. I don't like Eric Hosmer. I've watched way too much Padres baseball to like Eric Hosmer, and I think the overwhelming consensus among knowledgeable Padres fans is a dislike of Eric Hosmer. What was the question?
What are you gonna do with him? Like, go to the pot.
Well, I know for a fact that they are trying to deal him, and they're really selling that veteran presence, prestige, value in the clubhouse. But no one cares. They were close to a deal with Gallo, which would have sent Hosmer and money and a top prospect, probably Robert Hassel III, who was their first round pick last year. I think there was a snag on the money from what I've heard, but I'm not exactly sure how true that is. It will be similar to the David Price and the Mookie trade. If they were to trade Hosmer, they would have to – obviously Mookie isn't a prospect, but it would be similar where they'd have to give up the prospect package, and then you take on Hosmer and the money, at least some of it. And the Padres would be wanting something back in return.
So is that still like, is that, you still think it's going to happen? You still think they're going to move on from Hosmer, or like, is there any like other trades that you could see the Padres making that involve Hosmer, or just, maybe in general that don't even involve him?
The Padres will make another trade, 100%. AJ Preller makes trades like I breathe. That dude, that's like how the guy stays alive. Yeah, they'll make another trade before the Friday deadline. But I think moving Hosmer because of the money situation would require a longer period of time to work out the financials, because you have to go through the owners and you have to do different things money-wise, that unless those conversations have already started, and I don't know about them, which is very, very possible. I don't know everything that goes on in the front office by any means. Unless those conversations have already started, it would be really hard to start that conversation at 6:48 Western time on Wednesday of the Friday deadline. And I think that's a similar deal with Scherzer because of his money. I think though any deal with Scherzer has already started, or it won't happen at all. And anytime you have a veteran with a lot of money at the back end of their contract, like Hosmer right now, that's going to be the case. I would be absolutely stunned if AJ Preller doesn't trade for at least one pitcher. I don't know the caliber of that pitcher or who that pitcher is, but I can, as close as you can get to guaranteeing a trade, guarantee he will trade for a pitcher before the Friday deadline.
We got a Ryan Cohen guarantee here. You heard it here first.
Not quite, but almost, yeah.
So I was looking at his money right now, and he's going to make $20 million this year, $20 million next year. Then he's due $13 million 3 years after that.
Now, the only hope is after year 5, which is next year when he makes 20, there's an opt-out. He's so cocky and arrogant that he might just think he can get more than the $39 million on the free agent market. Now, his agent, Scott Boras, is smart enough to know that there's not a shot in the world he gets even more than $10 million because he sucks. But my hope down deep is that cocky, arrogant Eric Hosmer just thinks that he has a shot at making more money and hits the free agent market, but it's not going to happen.
I saw the opt-out thing, but I was like, I'm not even going to mention it because it makes no sense for him to opt out. There's no way he's going to – if he opts out, there's no way he's going to get something better than 3 years, $39 million.
No chance.
So in terms of like the other pieces, where do you think like a Trevor Story goes? Like, what's like the hot names right now, if you know any?
The worst shortstop production out of contending teams has been Elvis Andrus on the A's. The A's hate taking on money, but because it's only a half season and Trevor Story is not making that much, I don't think that'd be a big deal. They wouldn't lock him up long term, but I could see him going to the A's. The Yankees have been rumored because Gleyber Torres has been so bad defensively at shortstop. So I could see him moving to second with Story at short, and they clearly are willing to make a big move. They traded for Gallo today. If you look at the other contending teams around the league, most of them have pretty solid shortstops. So I don't think he's moving to any other intra-division. He's obviously not going to San Diego, LA, or San Francisco. The Brewers already have Willy Adames, who's been balling out since the trade, and they're going to probably win the Central. The Mets, they're not going to trade for Story when they already signed up Lindor for so long. There's no one really competitive in that NL East. Maybe the Phillies. They have Didi Gregorius, who isn't great, but I don't really see that. And then in the AL, I think the Oakland A's make a lot of sense. Astros obviously don't need them. They have Correa. In the Central, it's the White Sox. They have Tim Anderson. And then in the East, it's Bo Bichette, if you even consider the Blue Jays contenders at this point. Xander Bogaerts on the Red Sox, they're good. The Yankees, as I said, make some sense. And the Rays, I really don't see them trading for Story when they already have Franco and a couple other top Walls and a couple other top prospects at shortstop. I don't think it makes a ton of sense to trade for a half year of Story, but I guess that could happen potentially.
It's like the Yankees and the A's are the clear favorites. Josh, I know you're a Yankees fan. Do you think like with those moves for like Joey Gallo and Trevor Story, that puts like the Yankees back into the AL East? Also, that question goes to you, Ryan. You could answer after.
Gallo for sure. Yeah, today I was just as surprised as you all were that the Yankees were able to grab him. But yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think it puts us back into that. And you're right, we do have a lot of big hitters, but that's what we need more of. More RBIs is what we're going for, I think. So so I hope that Gallo will bring some of those to us. and Yankees will be back on top sooner or later.
Going back to the story thing, hold up real quick. I think from what I've been seeing is the Giants make the most sense, but the thing is that the whole interdivision thing is probably what, like, they'll probably have to overpay, right?
Brandon Crawford's also having a good year. That would have shocked me before the season, but Brandon Crawford was an all-star this year. Like, he's had a very good year for his, I think he's 35 or 36 years old. And because it's only a half season, it doesn't make a ton of sense to give up a lot of capital, especially in the prospect realm, intra-division, because you're going to have to face them for the next 6 years. Going back to the Yankees don't have a shot at the AL East. They're 9 games out. They have 2 teams ahead of them. The AL East is gone. They're only, 2 games back? I'm looking right now. They're 3 games back in the wild cards. They're very much in the hunt there. Gallo's a great player, and he's a great defender, and he gets on base at a high rate, and he has a ton of power. And I like Joey Gallo as a player quite a bit. I just don't really understand how he fits that lineup, because that lineup the last few years has been so dependent on DJ LeMahieu getting on base in front of Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Gary Sanchez. And those 3 guys strike out a lot. And Gio Urshela's had a good year too, or a good couple seasons. He hasn't been as good this year. Those 3 guys strike out a lot, but they hit for a lot of power. And Judge is a better contact hitter than Gary and Giancarlo, but that's still his game. Gallo is just another one of those. Sure, it's from the left side, but incredible left-handed power doesn't really matter at Yankee Stadium because it's such a short porch anyways. The reason DJ LeMahieu in the last few years has been so successful in New York is because he hits all those cheap home runs to right field. As a righty, they're oppo line drives that would be doubles or flyouts otherwise. They get out. A 500-foot homer to right field doesn't matter. It counts the same as your 350-foot wall scraper. That extra home run that DJ LeMahieu gets that would have been a flyout earlier is more valuable than the big, massive home run that Joey Gallo might hit. That's why I don't really understand going for a left-handed power bat with the lineup they already have. Now, he's a great player, so it does go a little bit beyond that. It's not like it's just a left-handed power bat because he gets on base at such a high clip and has great defensive value. So I don't dislike the move for the Yankees by any means. I just don't necessarily think it's the move that puts them over the top when you look at the rotation, and it's Cole and 4 question marks. There's no one that comes into the game where I go, Yankees are going to win today outside of Garrett Cole. And I think you can say that for most teams in the league. I think starting pitching since the spider tech crackdown has been down. But outside of the Brewers, their top 3 freaks me out. Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta could shut down any playoff series. And I don't feel that way about the Yankees. So if you have Garrett Cole going in that wild card game with a good lineup, you feel pretty good about yourself if you can get there. But in a 5-game, 7-game series, I still don't feel that strongly about the Yankees right now.
How much of it do you think was there's just the Yankees, so they have to, they can't be set, they have to be buyers, because that was my thought process of they just have to be buyers because they're the Yankees.
Always. And if you have the money, you might as well spend it.
It factors in. I mean, this has less to do with money because Gallo's not paying a ton, but there's definitely the perception of the New York Yankees are always going to be contenders. And it's still Brian Cashman at the helm. It's been him for the last 20-plus years. Hal Steinbrenner is still related, to this. He's part of the Steinbrenner family, and he's the charge there as well. So it's still the New York Yankees, despite their drought of championships in the last decade. And yeah, it's kind of what I was saying about the Nationals earlier. The Nationals are finally looking like they're going to be sellers for the first time, and the Yankees have never been that team for the last 20 to 30 years. And I think even if they didn't sell, but even if they didn't get anyone, that would kind of be waving the white flag, which is something the Yankees never do.
Great talk. I did find a stat pretty interesting, though, that the Yankees, that Joey Gallo has more home runs than all of the Yankees left-handed hitters. I find that really interesting. So I do think that trade does add some value, but I also have some question marks, like you're saying, can they really make a run with that pitching staff? I just kind of want to get into the Cubs now. I know they have a lot of guys that are slated to be traded, like Chris Bryant, Craig Kimbrell. How many players do you think the Cubs are going to be selling? To who? Are they going
Great question. They've made it pretty clear that they're selling. They've already gotten rid of a couple pieces. Now it comes down to Rizzo and Bryant. Rizzo and Baez, because I think Kimbrel and Bryant are sure things to be dealt. If they deal Rizzo, that is officially the end of their championship era. And for whatever reason, I think Bryant is the better player and has been the better player over the last 5 to 6 years. But for whatever reason, Anthony Rizzo, for me, and I think most Cubs fans, I think most baseball fans, is still the face of the Cubs. Anthony Rizzo is that captain leader. And if they deal him, like that era is over. Their window ended and it's closed now. So I think that'll be the thing to watch. I don't personally think they're going to deal Rizzo, even if it makes the most sense, nor do I think they're going to deal Baez. But I think Kimbrel and Bryant are all but locks to be dealt before Friday.
Remember when that Cubs core was supposed to be like the next? It's like crazy how like this just flips like from one year to the next. But I remember like they were going to be the next after they won they're like they finally got over the hump and this is going to be the new Cubs dynasty. And now
Dynasties don't happen in baseball. It hasn't happened since the 90s with the Yankees. It just doesn't happen anymore. And that's why I believe so strongly in putting all your chips on the table to go for one World Series championship. And if you have an even year run like the Giants did and you get lucky like that, that's sick. If you look at the Red Sox teams who have won a bunch of times in the 2000s, they're not that similar to each other. They kind of push all their chips in, retool, and go for a new team. And there are really no dynasties. The only team that has consistently made the playoffs for the last 10 years is a team without a World Series championship in LA.
Here we go. Now you're going to start. I have a question for you. So, like, do you think the Padres collapse is going to come in the next couple weeks? Or, like, do you think, like, by like, the end of August, do you think they'll be, like, out of the wild card race? Because, like, you know, the inevitable collapse. So, like, by when do you think that's coming?
What?
When do you think that Padres collapse is coming, man? When do you think? I mean, we're ready for it. Like, I'm ready for it. You know, I'm expecting it. You know, it's gonna happen. So it's like, you know, you see it in the next couple weeks. Like, what do you see?
Let me explain something to you here, sweetheart. When you have a bad team for 15 years and they're bad, they lose. When you have a good team, which is now, they're very good, they win. And they don't lose a lot of stretches of games. Now, if you want to talk about a collapse, we can talk about the only team who consistently loses in the playoffs after 162 games because their bullpen falls apart every single year. And now we're 100 games into the season, which is an actual real season. And what's happening? Oh, no, Kenley's blowing a save every night. Oh, no, not Kenley. Oh, no. Oh, Bellinger, let me just throw it down the third baseline. Oh, there it goes. They're already falling apart. They're going to make October because they're good in the regular season. They're very good in the regular season. And then they're going to do what they do after a real 162 full season. After a real season, they're going to get tired. They're going to get bored. Bellinger's going to be stoned. And they're going to fall apart. And it's going to be disastrous. Oh, no. They just choked under the pressure.
Look, I don't know that disrespect to the World Series champs. I don't know about that. But, look. The Dodgers have had the absolute worst luck when it comes to injuries this year, and they're still 3 games back of the NL West.
You know, like, the Padres have 25% more injuries than the LA Dodgers?
No, the Dodgers have had better players been injured for longer periods of time.
Oh, but I thought they were such a deep team. They could just fill these positions so easily because they're so deep, and depth is their whole thing.
He's one of the probably the best shortstop in the NL West, and he's been out for a good while.
What?
Our rotation has been.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You guys have a great rest of your night. I'm gonna go eat dinner. Corey Seager's the best shortstop in the National League. Get out of here. Dude's 22 about to win NL MVP. I don't even know. You just say his name because you know who he is. Patrick, Josh, have a good night.
What?
Okay, he actually left.
He actually left. He was like, I'm out.
There you go, Omar. But
I held in the Padres slander as much as I could. I was like, you know what? If once he brought up the Dodgers, I was like, all right, it's time to let loose here. Like, this is it right here. That was a good baseball. I feel like we never really get like much like.
We never get that deep like into baseball, yeah, because we really can't. But yeah, no, that was a good baseball.
Yeah. I still have some more questions, but whatever. We can go back into the NFL.
Well, he left. I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. We'll just get back to the NFL. Do we still have any last thoughts about Cowboys and Hard Knocks, or are we just gonna move on to the next topic in the NFL? All right, so
I guess we can go to
other-
the next topic in the NFL, but just real quick, I want to be on the record. Max Scherzer will be a LA Dodger by Friday. Just putting that out
Stop it. Stop it. That's not happening.
all right, we got that bold take. Personally, I honestly don't think he's gonna get moved, but we'll see what
I don't think
happens.
so either. I don't think he moves.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll go back to the NFL with, I think, with my background. I guess we could go there with the reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers has basically finally come to terms with the Green Bay Packers, kind of ending the saga for now. It'll probably happen again next year during 2022, but for now, it's over. It's been negotiated. He's got a year left. He's got one. He's going to be playing this year. And from there, it's just his choice on what he wants to do, whether it's retire, go to another team. 2022, it's really going to be whatever he wants. But for now, everything's been kind of settled. Like I'll put quotations next to that. But yeah, like it's been such a crazy sequence, and you rarely see this with the guy who just won the MVP. But he was pretty frustrated with everything, with what the Packers were doing in terms of like just the way he kind of highlighted it in today's press conference. He was just kind of upset that he didn't have long-term security, which he now got himself. Again, he did not have any security going into 2022. Now he does, so he's able to get that resolved. He was upset with like just not being like in the conversation with a lot of the I guess the roster moves that the team wanted to make. Like they wouldn't keep him in the loop, and he just wanted to be, I don't know, like just have his voice heard. And then like lastly, it's just like the way they've treated veteran players at that organization, just letting him go. And like I think he mentioned like Julius Peppers wanted to play another year, and it's like they didn't even give him a 1 year $3 million deal, and that kind of upset him. Like the fact that they just moved on from Jordy Nelson and like Randall Cobb so easily without really having any options to replace him after that. Josh, he'll probably be back, and then it was also like, I think the big straw for him was Jake Kumro getting cut. Like just absolutely, he liked the guy a ton and was always praising him and really thought he was the second best receiver in that training camp, and they just cut him without even telling him. So he really got all that off his chest today, and I mean, at least for now, the Packers are at least going to be able to field this season with their MVP quarterback and a star receiver that has his MVP quarterback. So what are your thoughts on that whole situation there, Omar?
I think you said the saga's over. I think the saga is just getting started. And I feel like the whole year it's going to be must-see TV. What happens like after like post-game press conference, middle of the week interviews. I feel like it's going to be must-see TV because, I mean, from what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to hold back. Like this might be his last year with the Packers, but he's not going to hold back of what he's going to say, right? Like he's going to say what he wants to say. And if the Packers have another good year, then like I feel like maybe it'll be a bit limited. But if it just goes disaster, like which it could, like as many talented players as they do have, this kind of like drama is not entirely great for an NFL team, right? Like it definitely can't help the locker room and definitely like might build a weird environment there. But yeah, I think I'm glad he's back, obviously, but now it's like the Packers kind of get what they want in terms of like one more year of Aaron Rodgers and you get to move on to Jordan Love. But my question is like, how much of Aaron Rodgers are you really going to get? Like, do you think there's any chance like he doesn't give it his all or something like that? Or you just think like he's just a competitor and he's just trying to show, like he's going to try to showcase for his next team?
I think he's a competitor, man. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wouldn't give it his all. The dude loves football. He loves it no matter, and he wants to play it. Like there's a reason he came back. Like he still got stuff in the tank. Like he said, like he was considering retirement until but he realized he's still got some passion left. He still wants to go play some more. Like he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and I don't think he's just gonna not put in all effort just because he's upset with the franchise. Like he's kind of already got some of that. I mean, it hasn't been resolved, of course, but it's like at least he got some of the frustration off his chest. And I just think I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that just ignites him for another MVP season. Like
But
he's got it. And,
but okay, so maybe it might ignite him for another MVP season. But what do you think the chances are for we've been seeing a Last Dance? Like what do you think the chances are like that they actually finally get over the hump? Because as a team, I'm not super confident in the Packers, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I don't know. Like I'm not really super. Maybe they could catch fire out of nowhere, right? And players are gonna be motivated, but I don't really see it.
well, their depth is really concerning for me. Like they've got some stars, like some superstar players that you really like a Jair Alexander, Kenny Clark. They've got some young rising stars too, and like with Rashawn Gary, and I also forgot Zadarius Smith for already a solidified superstar, and but also Darnell Savage is another guy who's a rising star. So they got some star talent, but I'm concerned a little bit okay, who's their linebacker? Who's playing linebacker? They don't really have a true guy there. They re-signed Kevin King to try to solve their number 2 corner spot. I don't think Eric Stokes is really going to be ready come year 1. Who knows? Maybe if he steps up, then that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about the Packers. But just their lack of depth on the defensive line, their lack of linebackers, and really the lack of depth behind guys like Jair, Amos, and Savage leaves me a little bit concerned about that defense. That if one of them gets hurt, it could be that defense goes from like a good solid defense because star power can help you out a ton on defense, but to like just a really bad defense, especially if Jair gets hurt.
Yeah, no, they have. So like I'm looking right here at their depth chart. They have Jair Alexander, Darnell Savage, Amos, and then Kevin King, and then after that they have like their second line of depth is Josh Jackson, Vernon Scott, Will Redmond, and Eric Stokes. That's their. So like I don't know. It could be really, and like the thing is that injuries happen in the NFL like so commonly that even like if he gets nicked up a little bit, right? Like if he just maybe gets a little clip and maybe he's not 100%, that's still gonna like affect them in a long like in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I thought last year's against the Buccaneers, I thought that was their best chance. I think I didn't really give them much of a chance versus the Niners 2 years ago because I thought the Niners were just a completely better team. But I just, with another year of Tampa Bay and then the Rams being the Rams now again, and a couple other teams in the NFC, I just don't really see how, unless they get like great matchups, I don't see how, that last dance. I don't really know how that happens.
I think they'll have a chance, but like you said, I'm not nearly as confident in them as I was last year. Like especially with what you're like another year of the Bucks, where it's like Tom Brady actually another year in that system where he did have a good year in last, and that team literally kept everyone. All of their starters are back, and they're only going to get better, right? Like they can. Like it's just such a stacked team, like right there. You also you got like you said with the Rams, like they upgraded at quarterback. I mean, they did lose Cam Akers, but they'll probably still Sean McVay will still figure out how to get like 1,000 yards out of Darrell Henderson. And Darrell Henderson's a good player, so there's nothing wrong there. And yeah, like that team's gonna be really good, especially with what they have on that defense. Maybe losing a Brandon Staley might hurt them a little bit. He's a really good coach, but at the same time, like they've got so much talent. They've got guys on that defense that can play. So I think another team that we might also have to look out for is in that division with like the Bears and the Vikings, like the Bears getting their new quarterback. I'm not going to say the Cowboys. I know Aaron Rodgers is not going to be – what Aaron Rodgers has done to the Cowboys. I don't care. It's 2021 and things aren't going to change. The Vikings and the Bears are their biggest competition. That they got a lot better this offseason. I think they're going to bring an additional challenge to that team.
Picture this. All right, I'm going to paint a picture for you right now. So let's say like it's January. It's a cold January day in Lambeau Field. It's the NFC Championship game, right? The Packers are this close to getting back to the Super Bowl and Aaron Rodgers' last dance. And then after all the torment he gave to the Cowboys finish off the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay and advance to the Super Bowl and end the Aaron Rodgers tenure in Green Bay. Is that not poetic?
That's not poetic because
Is
it
that
means
not
the
po- I-
Cowboy.
that's honestly-
That means Jerry Jones gets. That means Jerry Jones. I don't want Jerry Jones to succeed at all. But no, that's not poetic. I want Aaron Rodgers to still like sun the Cowboys because it's so much fun.
That's like a storybook ending. Like that's like, like the good guys finally won.
The good
finally
guys.
won.
90% of the NFL hates them. They're not the good guys.
No, but honestly, like, okay, going back to your point about in the division, I'm really high on the Vikings this year. Like, I'm really high on the Vikings for some reason. I feel like as bad as their defense was last year, like, I fail to see how it'll be that bad again, right? Like they were pretty terrible, and then they were missing Danielle Hunter, right, for the season, and then they finally have some more. They got Dalvin Tomlinson, right? So they finally got some pressure on the quarterback, and I just think that defense will be better. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings bounce back and maybe give the Packers a little run for their money. And who knows, like the Bears defense is enough to keep you in games. And if Andy Dalton gives them more than Mitch Trubisky did in the last couple of years, which is not saying a lot, like if he gives you more, like that's an upgrade, right? That's an upgrade at quarterback, even if it is Andy Dalton. So I don't know. I do think that the NFC in general got better, and also the NFC North got better too. So I just fail to see. I don't know. I have a tough time seeing like this whole last dance thing. Like I don't know. I'm not super confident in that.
Josh, welcome back. Any thoughts on the whole situation with Rodgers, and like what do you think? Like, what are the Packers going to do in 2021? Do you think that what are your expectations?
First of all, he's the reigning MVP, so you should 100% give him whatever he wants. Like, your job is to keep your team together, so give him whatever he wants to keep your team together. Give him input on the players that have to like guard him on the line. Like, you know what I mean? So I give him input on the receivers that he has to throw to. And he's Aaron Rodgers. He's a legend. So I think they're ultimately going to end up losing. And unfortunately, Green Bay would have to be really stupid to let him walk. He'll play this season, but next season, I cannot see if these small things don't get fixed, I cannot see Aaron Rodgers playing for the Green Bay Packers next year.
I can tell you where he's playing next year.
He's going to play in Denver.
I was just talking to someone about this, and if Deshaun Watson doesn't clear up his like legal issues, then we might not have a quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers is available next year, I'm just saying, man, look, we will have the slot open. Aaron Rodgers, you heard it here first on Aggie Talk. If you want to come to the Houston Texans, let me get a phone call into Bob. I'll let you know.
Why do you wish that bad on Aaron Rodgers? What did he do?
Yeah, what did he do to you?
All I'm saying is he's a great quarterback who is at the end of his career. Yes, he just won MVP, but he's at the end of his career. And so if he wants to spend his last few years on a team that's in a rebuild stage that needs a great quarterback at the helm, I'll take Aaron Rodgers.
I honestly think, again, like what you said, Omar, it's probably going to be Denver. But I also do have some hope. I also have some hope that he
just brush my Texans out the way.
I think the Texans will enjoy Spencer Rattler, or whoever's the number one quarterback next year.
I agree. It'll probably be Denver.
I could see the Raiders too. If Derek Carr doesn't perform to what we expect, maybe who knows? Maybe they could even swing a trade for both Devontae and Aaron Rodgers. But most likely, like I could see Denver. I could see the Raiders. Those are my two main like destinations that I could really see him at.
I think the third is the Steelers. I'm not even saying that I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and this would be my dream. But I'm being serious. I think that's a legit shot. Like, this is Ben's last year. The roster's still going to be good. They've got great receivers, like a very deep receiving core with young, like guys that are young and I think have a ton of upside. And that defense is still going to have some really good guys. He'd be able to win with that roster. I'm not kidding. I think I've said it for like a year already, and I'm going to continue saying it for another year. He's going to be a Steeler next year. It's honestly happening just like I wanted it to. Just keep messing up Green Bay, and he will be coming to the other north. He'll be staying in the north, but the AFC North.
So hold up, I got a question then. How is Aaron Rodgers going to change the Steelers getting 30-piece by the Browns in the first half? How does that work? How does he help out that defense?
He'll score 40. Like, it's that easy. Like, come on now. Trust me, I have faith in this. Like, I still think it's gonna happen.
He's Aaron Rodgers, not Jesus. He's not scoring 40.
We have a good defense.
We
have good receivers.
If your answer to that was just score 40, then the Packers would have listened to that all the years that they've had awful defenses. They would have just listened to that of like, oh,
our defense is better than that Packers defense has ever been, and
I couldn't tell.
In that one, you're basing off one game where they were a top 5 defense in the whole season. Like, come on now. Like, in the receiving talent that the Steelers have right now is better than anything he's had in the last 4 years. So I will literally take that. So I'm just saying, keep them in mind. I still probably think it's Denver, but I just think I wouldn't be surprised at all if he says I'm taking my talent to Pittsburgh, because that team can win with him. And I just even if it's just me being a Steelers fan, I think it's got a pretty good shot of happening.
I think, like, honestly, like I hope for the sake of all Steelers fans out there, this is Ben Roethlisberger's last year. And, like, if it does happen, like, I could see a situation where, like, the Steelers don't have a young quarterback, like, in the waiting, right? Like, they're kind of – and they have a – unless you want to say Mason Rudolph, but, you know, that's a whole nother issue. Like, they don't have a young quarterback in the waiting. They probably won't do bad enough to where, like, they can be in the top 5, right, and maybe pick a young quarterback, and you still have good enough talent. You know, you're gonna have T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like, you have enough pieces on defense and offense that are still, and some of them are still in the rookie deals, or some of them are might get deals, but you have enough space to add a quarterback. Like, I could see maybe if they give them an offer of, like, we'll give you a couple firsts, and, you know, maybe, you know, make one more run for it with Aaron Rodgers, and if you win a Super Bowl, like, then that trade will be absolutely worth it. But I could see, I mean, I don't think that's a bad, like, option. I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to Pittsburgh. That's my thing.
Fair. Do you guys have any last thoughts, or you want to move on to the next or to another topic?
Let me just you know, I painted that picture for you, Pat, but Josh wasn't here. So Josh, let me paint you a picture real quick. All right, Josh. So picture this. This is Lambeau Field, January, right? It's a cold day in January. It's like, maybe there was some snow earlier in the day. So it's a cold day in January. It's the NFC Championship game. And Aaron Rodgers is about to go back to the Super Bowl, right? And they're up on the Cowboys. But after all those years of Aaron Rodgers just torturing the Cowboys come back, beat the Packers, and finish that Aaron Rodgers Packers era. And they completely destroy it. Is there anything more poetic than that, Josh? Like, honestly, that's poetic, right? Like that's a beautiful picture that I just painted.
As a Cowboys fan, I could see that being very poetic. That's damn near Jane Austen. But but as a football fan, I think we're good. I think Aaron Rodgers is. You're right. Why would Aaron Rodgers go to the Texans? Why would Aaron Rodgers think of any team in Texas? Because the Cowboys have beaten him like 4 times in the last 10 years.
He's beating the Cowboys. Hey, you know what? He could be Dak's backup. You know, he could come here. Maybe he can ride the bench. That sounds
awful. Alone.
He can ride the bench for a couple chips that Dak.
You know, every team does need their vets. They need their vets. But Aaron Rodgers, like, reigning MVP, and he's what, 35, 36? Yeah. So I think if you're still performing at a high level at that age, you deserve way more than getting beat at Lambeau on a nice.
Yeah, no, but the thing, like, honestly, in all honesty, though, I guess we can move on to the next topic after Pat, but the only team that I see at this moment that makes the most sense is Denver, right? And it's just like,
yeah, they're the only team that makes sense.
So I would have loved to see Aaron Rodgers in Denver this year, but it seems like more than likely we'll get it next year regardless. So we'll see.
I'm just glad they could work out him playing this season because, like, just as a fan of the NFL, I would hate to miss out on like a great player. Like it's like this season with the Lakers. Like we didn't get to see LeBron play. You know what I mean? He's been injured. Like we didn't get to see Anthony Davis play. Like when you miss out on the great players playing the game that you love to watch, I mean, it sucks as a fan. So I'm glad that they at least got him to training camp, and I'm glad we'll get to see him play this year. Next year, who knows? But I'm enjoying this season.
Great, Josh.
It could be his retirement. It could be his retirement season.
I don't like to think about that one, but I guess we can move on to the next one. I guess more of the contract disputes that are happening in with specifically the Xavier Howard contract dispute, because I looked a little bit more into it, and it's actually kind of criminal with what the Dolphins are going to try to get, or were trying to get away with. Basically, Xavier Howard has requested a trade from the Miami Dolphins over like the fact they couldn't get agreed on a new contract and the fact that he just doesn't really have that much guaranteed money. I looked at it. After this season, he still has 3 more years left on his deal, and in those 3 years, he has a guarantee of $3 million. $3 million over the next in the next 3 years after this season, in which by the time he's 31, I believe he won't have any money guaranteed, and they could pretty much cut him and absolutely lose nothing. So I believe that's why he wanted like a new contract. Like in 2 years, he's only gonna have $2 million guaranteed. So really, this is like for a guy that's an elite corner and just doesn't have like any form of guarantee like past this season. It's pretty. I can completely understand why he wanted a new deal and why he wanted a new contract. Like the dude's a baller, and I think he deserved it in the way. And I really do hope he either gets that new contract, whether from whatever team he goes to, whether it's Miami or anyone else. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that situation.
Honestly, had no idea about that, but right now that you said it, I looked it up, his contract, and it's crazy. Like after this season, they could have cut him, and the Dolphins would have only had like less than $3 million in dead cap space, $2.8 million. That's absolutely nothing. And when you think about it, when you think about how I hate to use the word, but like when you think of how disposable football players are looked at, let's say Xavier Howard, does bad or whatever, right? Then they'll just cut him, and what's going to be next? He loses out on all this money. But let's say he has another, like a Pro Bowl season. Then the Dolphins can just ride it out until he doesn't give you that production, and they could just cut him whenever. Right. So I understand him being like, I want more guaranteed money, because it's like, sure, his contract is until 2025, but that's all. The only thing that is it's a number, because they could easily just cut him if he has a bad season. Right. So it's like, if you want that long-term security, I understand. And I'm never against, a player getting his money. So hopefully he can get that settled out, because I had no idea about that, but it's pretty messed up. Like, the Dolphins can basically just get rid of him whenever they want after this season, and he deserves way better than that.
Yeah, for a young player, like the thing he put out on Instagram was super nice, because he thanked the Dolphins while also being like, y'all are not paying me enough, and I know that I'm worth more than what y'all are paying me, and I should be getting more guaranteed money. I wish him the best. I mean, that's all you can do. I think athletes don't realize sometimes how much power they have, because these teams need you as a player to get fans into the seats, which make them money. And he is absolutely one of those players that gets fans into seats for the Dolphins. And I hope he finds a landing spot somewhere that gives him the opportunity to A, make more money, and B, showcase his talent.
And it's not just that for me. Like, when you think about football, or like just any sport in general, like one wrong play and you're done, right? And it's like, imagine if hopefully Xavier Howard has another, like, some more long years in his career, but like, imagine if something were to happen and all he has guaranteed is $3 million, right? Like, I completely get his point of view of like, he needs more guaranteed, because we know in the NFL what matters is that guaranteed money. And if you have like almost nothing of it, like, you're basically paying for free, because they could just let you go whenever, right? So yeah, good on him for trying to get his value, and hopefully he does end up somewhere that does give him, because he's a really good corner. So
Three teams I keep hearing for, like, in terms of who could get him. The Cowboys are, until they switch to a more man-heavy scheme, I don't want to see that in the conversation.
They're everywhere, though. If there's a talk of some trades, the Cowboys are like a whisper.
This is a man corner, and the Cowboys play a lot more zone than they do play man. They just wouldn't utilize them in a good scheme. The three teams that are at least the three teams I'm thinking about. The two teams I've seen more, that I've seen more of, are the Chiefs, who I know they have a ton of cap issues, but I think they could he makes a ton of sense for them, and I think they could maybe resolve something. After all, the Saints were literally like $100 million in debt, or below, above the salary cap. I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs could figure something out. That's a name I kept hearing, but I also see the Cardinals. The Cardinals also have a little bit of a contract dispute with Chandler Jones, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Xavier Howard and Chandler Jones sort of trade. Maybe the Cardinals would have to add a little bit more with Chandler Jones because he's a much older player, but I could also see that. And, I'll also add this. I know this will probably upset you since I already shut down the Cowboys, Omar. I mean, I'm just going to say it. An upset Miami DB. He's not really happy. He wants to trade because the Dolphins don't respect him. All I'm saying is it sounds very similar to a situation that happened 2 years ago. And for a team like the Steelers who do play man and their best corner right now is a 33-year-old Joe Hayden, who's on his last year of his contract, the Steelers could really use that. And with Joe Hayden off the books and Ben Roethlisberger off the books, that opens up a ton of cap for them. So that's one of the things I just keep thinking about. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the running for that too. So any other teams, or what are your thoughts on that?
The salary cap is a myth, and I've realized that if a team, I always heard, especially in my first year of college, I used to listen a lot to the morning show, the ESPN morning show here in LA. I used to listen to it from Davis, but the Keyshawn Johnson, he always say, if a team wants to pay you, they'll pay you. I never really understood what that kind of meant, right? But it's every time you hear the excuse of the salary cap, look at this, you said, the Saints, right? They were, how much was it? 80 million in under, over the cap. And here you go, they're back and they have another, they have another good team. There's ways to maneuver around. The Rams have done it all these years, right? How do they keep re-signing all these players, or how do they keep adding all these players? So I would love to see him on the Chiefs, but I think the Cardinals would make a good fit, because if you look at the Cardinals, corner depth, I don't really love it. So, maybe Xavier Howard there could be a great fit for a team that's looking to make the playoffs. So I think the Cardinals would be my they should go all in for that one. But yeah, I that's the one team I really see right now. But yeah, I don't know who. I think that's about it, right?
Josh, anything you want to add, or just
No, I think he said it all. That's I think the Cardinals are a great landing spot for him. They need the help. Also, a little salty still that they got J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, if we want to talk about DeAndre Hopkins, we can move on to the next thing with the surprising amount of backlash from a lot of NFL players regarding the COVID vaccine.
It's not that surprising.
I mean,
it's not that surprising.
Just how loud they are compared to other sports. If you see
I said, you don't, as athletes, you don't think about the power you have. And now that athletes are realizing that they have that power, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins did it the strangest way possible with a deleted tweet. But, I mean, it's when you realize that you don't have to play this sport, but you play this sport to, provide for your family, will you get the vaccine or not? I think it's smarter to get the vaccine.
And it's not just that. It's obviously, I know the NFL rules are pretty strict in terms of if you're not vaccinated, but they're, at the end of the day, they're still giving you a chance, right? And it's they're still giving you a chance. If you don't want to get vaccinated, okay, don't get vaccinated, but these are the things you're gonna have to adhere to. And at the same, and I completely, I get, some people are anti, but they're giving, it's not they're telling you oh, It's mandatory. But they are telling you, like, okay, if you do cause an outbreak, there will be consequences to it, right? If you're unvaccinated. And it's like the moment you start getting into the into these players' pockets, that's when it's like another thing of like, oh, you know what, you can't do that, right? Like that's a whole another issue. That once that came out, it was like, okay, now it's like something that we really need to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I just find it crazy because like if you really think about it, it's like a minority of the NFL players. Like 85% of players already have received at least one dose, and like, I mean, it's just like this 15% that is very like upset. Which again, what you're getting at, Omar, is like with all the consequences that do come with not being vaccinated that are there. Like it definitely gives them a reason to be a lot more to, I guess, voice their frustration with it. But I just think a lot of it also comes down to like these players are just like so misinformed and out of touch with like what like the truth is behind this vaccine, and like the reasons they keep giving are always like they're just, I don't know, man. Like it just seems like they're not being smart. They're not really thinking it through before like they start talking about like why they don't want it. It's always like comes down to like, oh, it's the will, like they bring in like the will of God or something. And like for DeAndre Hopkins, he's just hearing about like a friend of a friend like is having some issues after getting it. It's, I don't know, man. Like just some of it just is a little just, I don't know.
What's the number one thing when you start making money? Isn't the idea is to never mess the bag up? You never mess up the bag. You always want the money. And if the NFL is going to give these guys the opportunity to get the vaccine, something that's completely free to them, still play the sport that they love and make money, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it. And not to mention, it gets to the point with the forfeiture rules, like one positive test, if it spreads to 10 people, your team's not big enough now for the 52. Now you have to forfeit the game. So I think the NFL is being strict for a reason. I think it's really good that they're actually sticking their ground on this because the way it's looking, third wave is coming. And I think that the more people tighten the reins on, yes, y'all need to get the vaccine, the easier it is for everybody because we can still all get through this together. I thought we were through it, but we can still all get through this together.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. Like it's like you have a great point, Josh, in terms of that. But it's like at the end of the day, if you don't want the cap to keep going down, if you want to like get back to the the economic boom that the NFL was undergoing, right? Like how every year the cap was going up and all of a sudden it just basically stays the same, and now that financial growth, like the owners do not want another season of no fans.
Basically, right? Like, if the players and the owners want to make more money, then the easiest way.
And it's like I would assume that a lot of knowing the demographics of a lot of the executive and a lot of the NFL owners, I'm pretty sure they have their thoughts on the vaccine. But at the end of the day, like all the executives, all the owners have gotten vaccinated. They have to get vaccinated. Why? Because even if it goes against what they believe or whatever, at the end of the day, they want, like Josh said, they want the bag, right? And they want a season of fans back in the stands. They don't want that empty stands where they lose a bunch of money. Like they want that. And if that's what it takes, then that's what they'll do. And yeah, that's just kind of what we're seeing. But yeah.
It's a crazy situation as a whole. Like I think this is still going to keep going, especially as the season goes along. Like it just, and I do think there's going to be a game that gets forfeited as a result. It's just going to be who and what team. And like, once the response to that, I'm
place bets. I think it's Dolphins right now. Dolphins.
Bills.
I'm probably going with the Bills too, but it's also like, just once that happens, it's going to be very interesting to see like how everyone reacts to it and like what's going to become the stance of that team. And like, it's just going to be something we're going to have to look out for. I guess we could move on to, the NBA, unless was there anything.
One quick thing. Yeah, just one quick thing. One last point of that. When I saw TJ Ward's tweet last night, like I just like I gave up because I was like, you know what, like that Coach Ron Rivera is like honestly like he was one of the most immune compromised in the NFL, and if you have like no sympathy or no anything towards that, like it's just like there's really no helping. Like it's just you can't really help that out. So it is what it is, and hopefully there's no Tuesday night football games this year because there's some crazy rescheduling or whatever, and hopefully we can get back to as normal as we could in the NFL season.
Yeah, that was a very like disappointing to say the least type tweet, and like just the whole thing with the Washington football team having one of the lowest vaccine rates with also having one of the like again the most like just I don't what was the phrase you used for Ron Rivera like
It's no compromise.
yeah like exactly like just seeing them like not be willing to do that after like he was receiving treatment like he'd have an IV, he'd be attached to an IV during games at times because of the cancer treatment. It was like you're seeing that and they're not even like just not getting the COVID vaccine and like putting your coach at risk is I don't know, man, that's gonna have like effects on your whole team on your team as a whole. It's not something you want to see.
Wholeheartedly agree. I love Ron Rivera.
All right, so ending on that note, I guess we'll move on to the NBA with the NBA Finals finally concluding. We'll finally give a recap of it. It's been a while, I know, but it was a very fun finals. The Suns in 4 straight losses is what happened there. Giannis Antetokounmpo won the MVP in an absolutely dominant showcase on one leg and had some help. I see your background right there, Omar. Chris Middleton had some pretty big moments in there. I mean, it was a great finals to watch, especially games 5 and 6. They were some of the most entertaining games I've seen in a while. And, I mean, just Giannis getting it, like, it's just a feel-good moment and something I predicted, by the way. I'm just going to take my victory lap there. I literally said it. You could go back and watch our NBA playoffs prediction episode. I'm just saying you'll see me predicting in there. But, yeah, what are you guys' overall, how do you enjoy that finals and, like, how are you just feeling as a whole?
Great finals. I genuinely enjoyed it. Going into it, like, I picked the Suns and I was like, I just want to see an entertaining finals. But as each game went on, I found myself rooting for Giannis and the Bucks like even more, right? Like it was like I picked the Suns, but at that point I was like, you know what, I don't care. But I thought the series was like pretty evenly matched. Obviously the Suns had no match for Giannis. And that was as expected, right? Like there's obviously no like answer for Giannis, right? Unless you build a wall. But I thought the main thing for me was the adjustments that the Bucks had. I thought after the first 2 games, I hated the fact that Brook Lopez was out there a lot, and I hated the fact that they would switch everything. And them switching everything just led to, Chris Paul just cooking. And then when they go back to Milwaukee, Chris Middleton's being a better scorer. They put Drew on CP3 like a bigger body, and as good as CP3 has been this whole year, when you put like a bigger body, like Drew Holiday is taller and bigger and he's stronger. So if you put a big body on CP, he was gonna, he felt it, and you could tell he after game 2 he was not comfortable. He was not comfortable. So I really like Milwaukee's adjustments, and I mean, dude, like Giannis was just being Giannis, and I that game 6 I think is one of the best clinching games that I've ever seen. I think that was just amazing just to watch that.
I gotta agree because 50 points in a game 6, it's like y'all don't really need the game. Y'all could go back to Phoenix, but Giannis said no. I'm closing this out, and I'm scoring 50. I'm dropping a 50 piece in the last finals game. So I also had Suns in 4, maybe not 4. I think I had Suns in 6, and I did have them winning the first 2, and then the Bucks winning the next 2, and the rest I was wrong. So I think that Chris Paul, I don't know if he makes another finals. I hope he does with this Suns roster, but you're right. He did not look the same Chris Paul after game 2. Even after the injury in game one, he did not look the same. He was not playing like the Chris Paul that we all have seen before, or the veteran that we know he's got the higher IQ to play better. There were spots where Devin Booker took over, and that's what you want from Book, but he had back-to-back 40-point games, and they still couldn't get over the hump. So I don't know. I think that the deciding factor is Chris Paul, and we all know that he's better than that, so we expect him to play better than that. But overall, I think it was a great finals. All the people that were saying it wasn't exciting, you did not watch basketball. It was very exciting. I was rooting for the Suns the whole time, but I could not be happier for Giannis Antetokounmpo at age 26 to win his first championship. I do believe Chris Paul will be a Laker. So, yeah, probably. I look, y'all are getting ready to offer Schroeder 140 mil. So, I mean,
that was fake news. That was fake.
I'm
news.
just look. If y'all give Schroeder 140 mil, then something is wrong.
That was fake news, man. But no, but for real, like, it's time. I guess it's time for me to. I don't know how hot of a take it was, but it seemed like when I said it, Pat disagreed with me, and Josh, I want to get your thoughts on it. But I thought that the moment the Suns went to a more Booker-heavy offense, it kind of limited everyone else because Booker was getting his. He was dropping insane numbers, but with CP3 not getting his offense going and everyone else not getting involved either, it felt like the Suns' offense was a bit stalled because a lot of the times down the stretch we saw, it was either a CP3 ISO or a Booker ISO, or when Booker was on the bench, CP3 was just ISOing it for, 18 seconds on the clock and then making one like last move, either getting his own shot or a contested three. So I thought the offense could have been way better. And I felt like Monty Williams kind of messed that up a little bit because he could have found different ways to get Booker his shots while also keeping the offense flowing. Because if you look at like the rest of the offense, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all of them, like they weren't balling at all in those last 4 games that they lost. So I thought the offense, like when it went to like a more Booker heavy offense, I thought they relied too much on Booker. Like, okay, come go take us home, rather than, okay, get your buckets, but we need to get everyone else involved as well.
Yeah, but that's the Chris Paul effect. Like the reason we all love Chris Paul is because he can run your offense at an elite rate. Booker is not a ball dominant guard. And Chris Paul is, because Chris Paul knows how to facilitate. So I'll agree with you there because Chris Paul's offense is a lot slower. Booker is one of those guys who, if he's off the ball, then he can get you points. It's when he's on the ball, it's a lot of ISO, and Chris Paul just makes his living in the mid range. So it was a really interesting move by Monty, but I think they played the best game they could. Giannis is just that dominant. Also, I got to give it up for Bobby Portis because I was not a believer at all, and Bobby Portis proved me wrong. So I got to get up for Bobby Portis, but it was a good finals. I think what the Suns need to do now is, and you all heard this because we said it in the group chat, but I think DeAndre Ayton needs to learn how to grab the ball and hold on to it. And I think that's what caused a lot of those loose balls in the hole that turned into turnovers. And also he needs to learn how to take the ball and go up with it and stay up with it. He doesn't need to come down from the rebound, just put it back up, because we've all seen him catch amazing alley-oops. We know you can do it with layups. So if the ball's in the air, just tap it in. But the Suns need some help. I think they're still making playoffs next year, but if Chris Paul is 100%, hopefully this offseason everyone gets some rest, and hopefully they can make playoffs next year. I don't think they're going as deep as they would, but they could be an upset team in the West.
Look, and the thing is, another thing with DeAndre Ayton is I think he needs to work on finishing around the rim, because I could count a couple times where, especially in crucial like moments of the game, where it felt like he was under the rim or he was near the rim, but he kind of rushed it a little bit. It was like a bit of a push shot, but he rushed it. And I feel like if he can be more aggressive going up, like, because honestly, like, he kind of disappeared, especially in that game 6. Like, in that game 6, he kind of just gave up. Like, Giannis was just sunning him at that point, right? And I mean, he's still young. He's still super young, and he definitely showed that potential. But I think when you look on the Sun side, my question to you guys is, do you give a 36-year-old CP3 a 3-year contract and run it back, or do you just let it go at this point? Because, you know, what are the guarantees that Chris Paul can stay healthy like this again or have another season like this again?
I will give him a 2-year and hope that we can run it back. That a 2-year with like a player option. You know what? Chris Paul has earned a player option. I will give him a 2-year with a player option and hope that we can run it back. And if not, then Chris Paul figures out where he needs to go. I wouldn't say blow it up, but DeAndre Ayton definitely needs to be better for a first round overall. Like, come on. I understand he's young, and I understand that he doesn't have like the experience to be in the finals. First finals for everyone except for Jay Crowder, wasn't there, or something like that? Yeah, so I think that's where he needs to gain that growth, take this experience, and grow from it. And I think he should hit the weight room because you need to go up with it if you're bigger than everybody else in the hole.
Okay, but I get the running it back with CP, but what about DeAndre Ayton needs to get paid and Mikal Bridges needs to get paid? So unless you're gonna go
of the two, I'm paying DeAndre.
I know, but
I love Mikal, but I'm paying DeAndre.
I would think that they would I would much rather keep Mikal Bridges because he's shown the potential of being a really good defender. He just needs to work on his offensive game a little bit and become more of a, you know, put the ball on the floor. But I'd still much rather give him, because you're not going to give him as much money as you are CP, but the potential is a lot better that, you know, if you have an elite wing, if you have like an elite 3-and-D wing that can be a playmaker and get his own shot too, which I definitely think Mikal Bridges can develop. Like, I don't know where CP3 fits into this. And knowing like the Suns, like the Suns owner who had like how cheap he really is, like, I don't know if they want to go into the luxury tax either.
I think the reason you pay DeAndre Ayton over Mikal Bridges is because of the points production. I think Bridges' defense has shown that it's there. Like he's clearly at that level of player where he can defend a mid-range guy any time of day. But DeAndre Ayton, he's a big at 6'11", and all he needs to learn is to go up with the ball. And I think then his problems are solved. Finishing at the rim is his biggest issue, but he needs to learn how to catch the ball and then finish at the rim. So you're right. I don't see where Chris Paul stays in, but I think just because of legacy, Chris Paul gets a 2-year, and they hope that they can run it back.
But apparently Chris Paul wants 3 years. And the thing is that I think it's going to come down to whether the Suns want to keep CP or they want to keep Mikal Bridges. I think it's going to be –
Yeah, and then at that point, I think you let Chris Paul walk.
And it's tough because it's like he got you to the finals, but yeah, I don't know.
For me personally, there has to be some kind of like legacy credit, even if it's just like a 3-year. Oh, we might not make the playoffs, or we might not make the finals, but you have earned it to where you get this certain amount of money because you have the respect of every player in that locker room. And I know the morale that you bring to the team. Look at Udonis Haslem. Udonis Haslem is like the biggest hype man for the Miami Heat. And they literally paid that man just because. At 40 years old, he played 2 minutes and got ejected. So, like, I don't think Chris Paul is at the same level, but you need that kind of, like, veteran leadership in the locker room. So,
true.
If they sign Mikal, they won't have it.
True. Okay, they do need that veteran leadership, and Udonis Haslem is a good example of that veteran leadership. But Udonis Haslem's not making or does not want to make $40 million a year like CP does, especially.
And like I said, good example in like the veteran, but bad example in like the play because Udonis Haslem is not going to come in and score 25. But
Look, I love Jared Dudley, but if Jared Dudley was asking for like 30, 40 mil, he's out of there. Like I don't care about it. Veteran leadership. So I don't know. I just don't know if you want to take the risk of an aging CP and you want to give him a long-term deal while Booker is about to reach his prime, while DeAndre Ayton is going to reach his prime, and while you have all these young pieces. Like I don't know if that timeline necessarily matches up, especially if CP3 does decline, right? Because he hasn't been exactly the healthiest his whole career. So I don't know. I think that's just something that they have to look at.
Definitely something interesting to look for in this off season that's coming up. It's going to be a very fun one. Speaking of fun, though, we'll be live tomorrow during the NBA draft. Release the lottery, maybe do a little bit extra, but more than likely it's just going to be the lottery picks and just giving our reactions. So if any of you guys want to tune into that, I mean, honestly, I'll try to upload this by tonight, but if it's after the fact, I hope if I upload this after the NBA draft, I hope you were there in our live stream, but I'll try to get this up before the draft happens tomorrow. But yeah, what
Real quick. Last live stream we had for the NBA draft in November, I want to say we hit like 80, like almost 90 total viewers, which like I thought I was a lot more than I thought. So we hit like at one
we're
point,
breaking 100 this time. We're breaking 100.
We're gonna break 100, and not just that, but last time I think the most we had at once. I don't remember the exact numbers, but if we can break 100, we're gonna keep aiming for the moon. We got this. But just one last thing, I guess, about the NBA Finals before we move on to the draft or free agency. I'd like to formally apologize to Chris Middleton. I always said he can never be the second best player on a championship team, and he absolutely just proved me, and I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that have said that too. They proved me wrong, and man, he's just a baller. He's an absolute baller. And watching him in the clutch, especially, even if he was having a terrible shooting night, him in the clutch, that's special, man. That's not normal at all. That's not normal. So yeah, congrats to the Bucks, man. Hey, and Jeff Teague's an NBA champ, so you know what? Anything could happen.
Yeah, I'm happy for the other guys too. Like, I mean, Chris Middleton, yes, but he scored he's a silent scorer. So he can score, but he'll put up like 40 on you, and you'll be like, wait, Chris Middleton has 40? But I'm happy for Jeff Teague. I'm not happy for PJ Tucker, but it is what it is. I know. Look, give me the face all you want, but it is what it is. I'm not a PJ Tucker fan.
I love PJ Tucker, man. I love PJ.
I hope his sneaker collection.
Yeah, his sneakers are always fly. That's one thing. Yes. Also, did you see the video of him like getting to Giannis before Giannis even got him?
Yeah.
That's how deep his sneaker game is.
Who does he have as like his plug in that, man? Like that's such a kind of
I don't know.
Like
if he ever goes broke, like he can literally resell the shoes that he owns, and he can like maintain. Like that's how many shoes he has. Like he has so many like rare shoes that he can literally live the rest of his life just reselling the shoes and living like a normal, like a calm life. If for some reason just money troubles it, but man, there's a lot of people on that Bucks team that I really liked, and yeah, I mean, looking forward to let's see what they do next year. And I think Dante DiVincenzo is going to be a big they might not do a lot of free agent additions, but I feel like Dante DiVincenzo, adding him back in the mix will make them even better too. Because Pat Connaughton gave him huge minutes.
Also, shout out Bryn Forbes, former Spur. Former Spur.
Sure, gave him a shout out, but also shout out I'm blanking on the name. The one you already shouted out, Josh. Like Bobby Portis. Bobby
Portis. Yeah, Bobby
Portis
was huge. Like I didn't think the big three in Milwaukee would be Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Bobby Portis. Like who would have thought?
What we're not going to do is slander Drew Holiday, because as much as his offense was terrible, his defense was huge. Like his defense was absolutely, like his defense alone made him not unplayable, but like his defense alone was a huge reason that they won, and a huge reason that they won that game against when he got the steal from Devin Booker. Remember?
Yeah,
so
and then just threw it up court. Yeah,
one of the best moments in the NBA finals.
The one thing that I did love about Drew Holiday is he was playing up on Chris Paul. So Chris Paul has to turn his back to him. So he can't see the whole floor. So he can't see where his own guys are going. And I think that his defense is spectacular. You're right. We're not going to just breeze over Drew Holiday like that. But I still got to shout out Bobby Portis and shout out Drew Holiday because he's a champion now. Once you're a champion, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just I love seeing the videos after they won the finals with Giannis. Like, just funny dude, man. Like, super
Pulling
funny.
up the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, super funny. And, like, just he's a good guy that you want to have as the face of your – like, really be the face of the NBA going forward. I know LeBron's still around, but after that, you got to start looking to what's after that era. And, you know, I think – honestly, like, I think Giannis could be the face of NBA right now because I love the personality that he has. He's a super funny guy, and, you know, he's just an enjoyable, likable guy that, you know, just works hard, and he's got a really likable family and upbringing. It's just something cool. I'm glad that he won.
It's cool to see.
He's just humble, yeah, because, like, he's just a guy who came from the mud. You know what I mean? Like, he's a hardworking dude who can literally got to where he is just by working hard.
Yeah, no, and not just that. Like, he's not like these like AAU. He didn't go through AAU, and he didn't have college coaches that is every move praising him, or he didn't have all these like high school coaches like throughout like this, like the way you were to come up here, right? Like, let's say Zion, right? Like, Zion has had, you know, all these coaches and all these like people telling him like, oh, you know, you're gonna be a star one day, and you're gonna, you know, you go to Duke, you're on national TV like Giannis legit worked. He worked a lot, man, and seeing him win, and the NBA is in good hands. You know, you got him, Luka, you got Devin Booker. Like, the NBA is in good hands, man. The NBA is in
How
good
you
hands.
leave out LaMelo, rookie of the year? How you leave out LaMelo?
LaMelo, Taylor Horton Tucker. Like, the NBA is in good hands, man. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, great talk, guys. I just want, like, we could probably preview them. Like, when does the NBA, like, free agency period officially begin? What day is that?
What's tomorrow's date?
Tomorrow is the 29th of July.
Let me just double check that really quick, because I want to August 2nd. They could begin negotiating with free agents on August 2nd. It doesn't become official till August 6th when the new league year starts. So
okay, so the second is just a moratorium.
No,
so
but literally all the signings get announced on the 2nd. So
the 6th. Really?
Well, like, no, but like the thing is that they don't become like a fit. Like, the teams can't announce it until the 6th, but we literally hear like oh, like who signed, like Woj. Once it hits that time, like Woj just announced, like he just lets go of the drafts. Like, it's just like, this player signed here, this player signed here, this player signed here. And at 3 p.m. on August 2nd, which is, what day is August 2nd? I don't have my calendar near here.
I will look at it too to see.
August 2nd.
It's Monday.
Oh, okay, Monday. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so over the weekend, the things will go down. And
So
then on Monday is where we'll hear everything.
Monday is when teams can start negotiating, but for some
Are
reason
y'all still trying to move Caruso?
No, he's saying. But honestly, like, they could start negotiating on Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, but literally, I guarantee you by 3 p.m. Pacific time on Monday, we're gonna already hear about some announcements. Like, we're already gonna hear about like some free agent destinations. So if you want, Pat, I don't know if you want to talk about the draft or you want to save that for tomorrow, or do you want to go into free agency, because I don't know if we'll meet. We're probably not gonna meet before next Monday, so I don't know. It's up to you.
Let's do like, okay, just like, if you two could give me, like, let's just say like a dummies guide, to like a 5-minute guide to like the NBA draft. Like, who are the names? Like, what's their game like? And, you know, where are they going? Like, if you guys could give me that in like 5 minutes, we could do the draft just real quick. But most of it will be covered during the live stream.
I think it's still up in the air, honestly, because last I heard, Detroit was not happy with what they saw. But Cade Cunningham is probably the best player coming out of this draft. I mean, there's always sleepers, and we'll find out who they are over the next couple of years. But Cade Cunningham is the player that you want to watch for. Are those all Lakers?
This is a preview
I
of free
mean,
agent.
yeah. Stop. No, Steph. Oh, get out of here. LaMelo. Y'all want Lonzo back? Look, no. I think there are a lot of players that are coming up in this draft, but Cade Cunningham has been like the overshadowing player. I really Jalen Green's the next one. They're both just players that are young and have the ability to reach like pinnacles of the sport with their game. Cade Cunningham is a guy who can shoot the three and he can get to the rim whenever he wants. And when you have that ability at 20 years old, 19, then you can do whatever you want in the sport of basketball. So he's obviously going places. There are a lot of players this year. The Cade Cunningham and Jalen are probably the two biggest that I think. If Detroit doesn't like Cade, then we'll have to figure out who they pick over him. That's the biggest thing for me.
I think. Sorry, Josh. I don't know if you're gonna keep going, but.
Nah, you good. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I guess real quick, Cade Cunningham's the best prospect. He's really good. He would be really good on the Pistons, and I think he's gonna be the best. He's gonna be the best player year one. I think he's the most like NBA ready, I would say.
Did you hear what the Pistons said? Like they didn't like about him.
What did they say? What did they say?
It had something to do with like his work ethic, and like I was saying about DeAndre Ayton, like when you're a number one overall, like people expect you to deliver, if that makes sense. There have been a bunch of number ones that end up playing for 5 years and then disappear. And I don't want Cade Cunningham to be one of those players because he gets buried in Detroit because he doesn't have a high enough work ethic to pull a team who needs a star player out of the position they're in. So, I mean, that's just what Detroit – this is what they've been saying after they saw him work out. And I obviously think he's going to be a great player for the future. But I still don't know if Detroit is set on drafting him.
I think like at this point it's more of like a smokescreen of like
right, just a deflection. So
like,
don't look at Cade Cunningham.
if you're not set on your pick literally less than 24 hours away, like that's I find that really hard to believe that you're the number one overall pick and you have no idea. Like they're scrambling right now. Like what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna pick Cade. And that was just a smokescreen of like in case a team wants to offer them like an insane offer for number one that they can't refuse, right? Like if OKC just wants to let go of like the 1,000 first round picks that they have or whatever, right? So I think he's gonna go. And number two, I think I would have thought Evan Mobley from USC, but it seems like it's gonna be Jalen Green. So I think
I'm still taking Mobley. I think Houston needs a big man rather than they need a two guard.
I mean, Mobley would be cool because they can switch him and Christian Wood at the 4 and the 5. So I think that would be a really good fit. But it seems like they really love Jalen Green. And Jalen Green, he's a great bucket getter, but he really does need to work on his defense a little bit. So I think like that's going to take a little bit to work on. So his defense is going to need some work. But he's a really talented scorer, like on every level. So he's going to have – but he might take some time. Evan Mobley, the center – if he goes to Cleveland, I think Cleveland would be like a really good destination for him. He's like really solid. He's 7 feet and he just like can defend like crazy. Like he can defend one. I'm pretty sure he could defend 1 through 5. Like he could hold his own against 1 through 5. So I really like it. Like he needs to work maybe a little bit on a bit of his offensive game. But I think now what we know with centers is like they can develop a 3-point shot if they really put in the work. So I think he's gonna do that. But honestly, outside of that, 3 through 20 is like shrug. You know, it's like I don't know. Like it's like they could be really good, but you got Scotty.
Davion Mitchell from Baylor. Like the Spurs are projected to take him at 12, and for what the Spurs are, I'll take him.
Yeah.
But you're right. For the most part, like 3 through 20 is like, okay.
You know, you got Scotty Barnes from Florida State. He's pretty solid, but he has a lot of like he needs to work a lot on his jump shot, which is not great, not what you want to hear from a top 5 pick, right? Um, then you got like Jonathan Kuminga, who was like consensus top 5 pick, and then all of a sudden he's sliding, and some people are saying he might even fall out of the top 10 because like he kind of struggled in the G League a little bit. So that's going to be something to watch and see if he falls. Jalen Suggs probably going to Toronto, but a lot of people don't love him. Like I thought, like after he hit that shot against UCLA, like his draft stock was going to go like really up. But honestly, like I guess a lot of people are saying like he's not really like he's going to be a really good defender, but I think he might take a little bit of time. But I think Toronto, especially if they lose Lowry, it's going to be a solid pick. But honestly, my biggest storyline of the draft is going to be what do the Warriors do? Do they keep those 2 picks? Do they move them for win now players? And if they do keep the 2 picks, who are going to be those 2 players? Because there wasn't exactly a very welcoming to James Wiseman, right? Like as a rookie, it was a bit hard on him at times. So I'm interested to see what happens there. What do you guys think they should do there?
I am personally a fan of James Wiseman because his upside is going to be huge. You're right. They were not as welcoming to him as they should be. But I feel like the Warriors keep the pick in the hopes that they can just steal a gem. It's not very often that you're in the top 10 and you still have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson coming back next year. The year after is what I'm worried about because now you have to think, yes, they're probably going to re-sign Steph, but do they have enough cap space to re-sign everyone else that they want to? I think Kuminga is their best bet if he's still on the board when they have the opportunity. He probably does slide to 10th. Then Warriors probably take somebody else. But the best bet is keeping that draft pick and hoping that you can get someone great that can provide some instant offense for your team.
I'm more in the favor of them like making a trade and like just trying to get some instant impact players. Like I don't know how much the Bradley Beal rumors are true. I think maybe that could be interesting. And I don't know how exactly he'd fit into that team. I mean, he's a bucket getter, so I mean, you always welcome that on your team. But I don't know what really they're gonna do. I don't think anything's really heated up in terms of with the Warriors and the like those picks, but we'll see. I think it's gonna be something definitely a monitor, like you're saying, Omar.
And the thing for me is like, okay, let's say they do go for a Kuminga. Like Kuminga's gonna take some time to develop. Like, do the Warriors really have that time? Right? Like, do they have that time to wait for some rookies to develop, or are they win now? And I just really think it depends on what timeline do they want. Do they want to compete right now, or do they want to be pretty decent? And
Are you saying they're not contenders right now?
they're not.
You don't think so? Like
Nope.
a healthy Klay Thompson comes off the bench. No.
I don't think that's gonna. I don't think Klay Thompson being back is gonna take them from not even making the playoffs to all of a sudden championship contender. I think
I'm not saying championship contender, but I will give them top 5 in the West.
I think they're more on like the Portland range for me, honestly. I don't think they're.
Well, if Portland loses Dame, Portland's out of the question. And the thing about Klay Thompson being injured is Steph Curry can still score 62 like it's nothing. So I think I'm not going to say that they do not need help, but they obviously, to me at least, look like contenders. Top 5 in the West, and that's hard to do because the West is competitive.
I think the biggest thing for me is how Klay comes back, not necessarily on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, because honestly, in those finals, he was their best defender, right? Like aside from Draymond, like he was the one who got the wings. So if he comes back and he loses a step, because I mean, two lower leg injuries in 2 years is pretty brutal, right? For quickness and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think his offensive game will struggle, but me, it's like the defensive end, right? And can Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole be those consistent players and give you that scoring to just like eat up minutes, right? And I'm not really sure about that. So yeah, I'm not really high on the Warriors, honestly. Like I think they're like if Portland stays like the way they are, I think the Warriors are more of like a Portland type team than like let's say than like a top team in the West.
I I think Portland like Portland, if Dame doesn't get some pieces, then he's gone. And that I will give you, it's more likely that he goes to LA than anything else. But I think that if the Warriors are close to Portland, then the Suns are still close to Denver. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because.
But I'm not super high on the Suns either, because they did make the finals, but I mean they made the finals. You got to get lucky to get to the finals regardless every year. But when the Lakers were good, the Lakers had them down 2-1 and were up in that game 4. The Clippers pushed them to 6 and they had no Kawhi, right? So I don't know. Like if you're gonna tell me that Chris Paul is gonna come back and be that dominant player he was this year, then okay. But the thing is that he hasn't really shown you that he can consistently keep that up. So I'm not really high on the Suns either. So it's not like
I'm just more thinking that Klay Thompson, you're right. His defense is going to be the number one factor when he comes back. But I think that whether his defense is there or not, he can still outscore anybody he's defending. So bucket for bucket, I think Klay Thompson comes back, the Warriors enter top 5 again. Like, talk to me like midway through the season, I might have a change of heart. But right now, Klay Thompson coming coming off of back-to-back injuries, like major injuries. I feel like he's got something to prove this season. He's getting older, but I feel like he's got something to prove this season. And Steph needs his wingman back in more ways than one, on the offense and defensive end.
I will say this, though. And then if you want, Pat, we can get into free agency talk after that. But I will say this. I would be higher on the Warriors if they would have picked LaMelo over James Wiseman last year. That's just I don't know if that's a hot take, but LaMelo would have been insane because he's a really good talent, and I don't know why the Warriors they were just like,
he was going to be nuts anywhere he went, though. I think it's best that he went to a team that actually had some great big men that he could dish to, because I think that's where he shines the most.
What are the great big men in Charlotte? Bismack Biyombo? Like, what are we doing? Like, who? Like, Cody Zeller, right? Like, I don't know.
Stop. No. Bismack, I'll give some credit because Bismack deserves some respect. But I think LaMelo got the chance to shine in Charlotte, because from the minute he became available, MJ was like, no, he's coming to Charlotte. And after that, seeing him work out, LaMelo already had the publicity behind him going to play overseas and then entering the NBA draft rather than the traditional let's go to college, let's do AAU type stuff. But I think the Warriors definitely would have benefited more had they picked LaMelo over Wiseman. But I think Wiseman is a great 4-5 that you can use in a situation where Steph's covered. You just need to get the ball to somebody who can shoot a shot. And Wiseman is that guy, but LaMelo could also be that guy. And the hard part is LaMelo won Rookie of the Year, so now it's hard to look back and be like, wow, we should have drafted that guy. It'd be like the Kings looking back and drafting either Trae Young or Luka Doncic over Marvin Bagley. Look at the Marvin Bagley situation they're in right now versus if they would have picked up Doncic. So I think that it's always a what-if situation, and the Warriors are, in my opinion, still a contender in the West. And I think next year with Klay Thompson, they bring it back to what they once were. Maybe not the same greatness, but I feel like they're an upset team in the West for a team that thinks they got a shot, like the Lakers.
Hey man, worst comes to worst, we can just just saying. Just saying.
I don't think Steph is a ring chaser though. I really don't. Because he's already got 3. He's not worried about it. Like,
I'm just saying anything is possible, just putting that out there. Just putting it out there.
Definitely, and maybe that'll be something we discuss next year or whenever Steph's contract is up to see who knows like when where he'll be going. But for this year's free agency, what's the things that we have to look out for? And particularly, do you guys have any predictions that you guys want to make?
Ben Simmons to the Spurs. Look, I'm always rooting my guys, and so I think that Ben Simmons to the Spurs would be a great addition to our young core. It'll give DeJounte the ability not to be forced into the Aaron Fox situation where you always have to have the ball because your other guys are not that great off the ball. So Ben Simmons to the Spurs, and Damian Lillard to probably the Lakers. Those are my hopes. Those aren't my predictions.
Man, I would go insane if I just don't really think Dame. I think the way I see Dame right now, I think he's going to stay put because he is frustrated, but it seems like he's frustrated and wants to stay in Portland. Like he seems like he loves Portland and he wants to stay there, but it's like the Blazers now have a chance to make moves to get better, to show Dame like, okay, because it like if he would have been like if Dame would have hated Portland, like he would have asked for a trade like 3 weeks ago, right? But the thing is that it seems like he wants it to make it work in Portland. And especially I think after you see what Giannis did with Milwaukee, I feel like if he thinks like if I can do this with Portland, like I would be like it would be amazing to me. And I think he likes Portland, so I think he's going to stay. I think ultimately Bradley Beal's going to stay too. My prediction, I think, as much as our friend Will Wyban Wyman doesn't like to hear it, I think Buddy Hield is going to be a Laker. I think there's going to be a way that DeMar DeRozan also ends up with the Lakers too. So I think DeMar, Buddy Hield, and there's going to be a few of like those vet minimum contracts that they're going to get. And I think I love Kuzma, man, but his time's up. I don't think he survives another off season, man. I don't think he survives another off season.
Did you just say you love Kuzma with the straight face?
He did. He did.
Hey man, he was really cool. He gave us a fun rookie year. He's a champion. I got to meet him once, so he was really cool.
In all seriousness, like he's a player I would not be upset coming to the Spurs. Like we just need a guy who could slow down the offense.
Look,
and he could shoot the 3 occasionally.
I think wherever he goes, I think he's gonna ball out. Because as much as Pat doesn't like him, literally like the wing class this free agency is weak. So if you can get a cost-controlled young wing like Kuzma who can score the ball, that's like a premium. And I would not be shocked if he goes to like a 8th seed level team and he like averages like 18 to 20 a game. Like I would not be shocked if he does that. So I just think in LA, like the times that like he just never really could find a consistent role being like the 4th, 5th most touches, right? I feel like he needs to be a bigger part of the offense. And when you have LeBron and AD on that team, it's not really going to happen. So love Kuzma, part of that young core. And it was cool to see him win a championship, but I think he doesn't survive another offseason.
Definitely interesting. I know that there's a ton of NFL or NBA GMs that watch this and you're trying to sell his value up, but I don't know, man. I think I'm still kind of upset with how he performed in that playoff game that just
don't get me wrong, like me too. I just think he needs to find a more consistent role. And I think and the thing is that when you play with LeBron and AD and stuff like that, like it's really hard, right? If you're not really a ball dominant player. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna his time is up, and hopefully he does well in Sacramento.
Yeah, I know Will probably is not gonna like that. I just hope that Zach LaVine doesn't get moved. I want him to stay a Bull for at least one more year. Like, I always root for the guy. I like the guy a ton. I mean, I was just really because I remember like when the Jimmy Butler trade happened, everyone was like, "Wow, the Timberwolves really just that was a great trade for them." But then it's like, I mean, I kind of was like, I mean, I don't know, man. I like Zach LaVine a ton, and I was thinking just like seeing all those. Loki, I was kind of buying into the hype with all those workout videos because he was coming off an ACL injury and like all that. And then once he got on the court, I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's legit. We got to keep him. The Kings tried to steal him, and I was happy they matched the offer, which I know again another thing at the time didn't look like a good move, but I liked it, and he's really become an all-star, and I'm just so happy to see his development. And now he's in trade rumors to, of course, the freaking Lakers. But I mean, I just hope he stays for at least one more year. If he has to leave, then I'll still root for the guy. But I just want 1 year, a full year of Vucevic, him, and Patrick Williams and maybe Kobe White. I know Lauri Markkanen is probably gonna be gone. I don't know. Is he gone? I don't really. I
Yeah,
didn't check up.
he's gonna be gone. I think Markin is like kind of just lost his way. But honestly, I don't think he gets traded right now at least. Because if you make that trade for Vucevic, you don't just give up on it like less than half a season, right? Especially less than half a season where Zach LaVine missed like 2-3 weeks because of COVID protocols. So I think they're gonna give it a shot. But if we get near the trade deadline and the Bulls are still not good, we can see a situation where, like, if the Bulls know he's not going to re-sign, where they're like, okay, let's get whatever value we can for him because he is going to be an expiring deal. So I could see that, but I just don't really get why you trade 2 firsts for Vucevic and then you turn around and like a couple months later just trade LaVine, right? Because the whole point is to get something going between those two and then see if it works. So I don't think he gets traded now, but I could definitely see us revisiting it at the trade deadline.
Okay, that's basically my hopes right now because like you're saying, it doesn't make any sense like to do that move at this point. So that's all I want. I mean, I just hope the Bulls can also add some solid role players. I mean, they had some guys like Thad Young who had a pretty solid year last year, and just hope that they could bring some, maybe get that CP3 like signing that really helps elevate the floor of the Bulls. I want to see them just be good. Like it's been a while now, so. I just hope that's what's happening. Anything you want to say, Josh?
It's been a long time since the Bulls have just been good, but I also hope that I think their best hope is Zach LaVine. So I think they should definitely keep him for the next year. Also, shout out Kobe White because Kobe White is bringing offense to that team that a lot of people have not seen, and he's still young. So whenever whenever y'all need a shot, Kobe White is the guy that you can give the ball to. And what did he shoot, like 60% from the corner? Well, something like that. He can probably hit it for you. And so Zach LaVine is probably staying in Chicago at least one more year. Next year, if we're having this conversation, probably going to be something different. He's probably in free agency next year because him and Vooch can't figure out who needs to go where and how the offense should be run.
What if we have like a 3 p.m. Monday live free agency reaction to like all the news that's going to come out at 3 p.m. Like even if it's just a half an hour thing, like just live reaction to free agency news. I feel like that'd be pretty cool, but I don't know what's your availability, guys.
That'd be dope.
I'm
Would you
down.
say Monday? Yeah, I'm down.
At 3, if that works. I don't know if you're scheduled at 3 o'clock. May not.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just an idea I figured I'd throw out there. Like, even if it is just like a short show, just like a live, like I said, once free agency hits at 3 p.m., like literally all the like signings just, start flowing through. I remember last year when, how it was like free agency was like in November. I remember I was working and like every like 5 minutes I keep checking my phone for like, who signed where. So it's a pretty crazy time. But yeah, I love this time of year, man. I love this time of NBA draft and free agency. It's always really for some reason the NBA free agency and the draft is always so fun because as opposed to baseball, it's like baseball could be really slow moving sometimes. And then football, there's never really a lot of like like huge stars that are available, right, in free agency. So I don't know. I just love basketball. I feel like basketball is different when it comes to that.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm down for that as well. Like we could do that, even if it's just short, we can definitely recap it. But just like, can I just get a few predictions on like where the key free agents might be going? Just get those on record.
I'm growing more and more certain that Lowry is going to end up in New Orleans. I think he's going to be a Pelican. I'm thinking somewhere around the ballpark of 3 years, $90 million, which I think is a bit of an overpay. But if you're New Orleans, you kind of have to overpay. I think Lonzo ends up in Chicago. Because I would not be surprised if the Pelicans renounce the rights on Lonzo soon, and he'll be like an unrestricted free agent, so he won't be restricted and he'll be free to sign anywhere. And I would not be shocked if he ends up in Chicago. I'm trying to think of other big free agents. If you guys have any names, just put them out there, and like I guess we can guess on them. Because I think we got DeMar DeRozan is another name out there.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna bring up. And the more it's looking, DeMar is not going to be a Spur, and it is looking like he's either looking for LA or he's trying to go West Coast. But the idea is he's either gonna go LA back to Compton, or he's gonna go to Portland. That's what I'm talking. If Portland's trying to make moves, we'll see what happens. But DeMar is probably leaving us one way or another.
I wouldn't.
The one I'm waiting for.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, quick to your DeMar point of Portland. I wouldn't hate that if they can figure out a way to move CJ for like a win.
And that's what you have to do. Yeah, and that's what you have to do. You have to move CJ. A, he's getting paid way too much money to do what he's been doing. and B, I think that he's the only piece that you move in order to bring in pieces for Damian Lillard to feel like Portland did enough to get to that championship level. I personally really wanted Jared Allen, but he's a restricted free agent now. They matched, so don't really care anymore. But Lonzo is probably moving. I think Lonzo for Lowry makes a lot of sense if you just switch the players. So I could see Lonzo in Toronto. He's going to be great anywhere he is. Like literally one of the greatest facilitators of the young guys in the game right now. So Lakers missed out. They should have kept him, but I guess you can't if you're bringing in Anthony Davis. But other than that, not a whole lot of free agents. I want to know your thoughts on this one, you guys. Duncan Robinson. Like, they hyped up Tyler Hero, and then they re-signed Duncan Robinson as a restricted. What's the move there? Is that Miami future?
I think it depends on what Miami tries to do, because there's still the chance that maybe they might make one more run at Lowry, and if they do, Duncan Robinson's probably out of the picture. So I guess it all depends on what they want to do in terms of that. But I do see like him being back in Miami. But then again, like I said, if they want to add someone like Lowry, which they really love, I would not be shocked if that happens. I don't know what you think, Pat.
Yeah, same. Like I probably would say that he stays in Miami, but it like just the fact that he's restricted, I could see them just matching. He had an off season, but he's a good 3-point shooter and put people like that. So I think they'll keep him around.
But that's what I was going to ask. Do you think that if it came down to it, do you keep Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero? Like Tyler Hero also did not have a great season, but it just so happened that Duncan Robinson's contract was up this year. They were like, yo, we have to sign this guy or he's going to go somewhere for cheap and then ball out.
I think you have to give Tyler Hero another chance because it was just his second year. And you have to because I don't think his value is necessarily high right now. So you you don't want to trade him away for nothing. So I'd say you probably want to give him another chance this year. And he's still going to enter. He's going to be entering his third year. So you'll get a better indication of what he is now. But in terms of Duncan Robinson, if you can keep him, you absolutely will, especially with 3-point shooting being at a premium now. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Just real quick, hot take or whatever you want to call it. I think the Knicks will end up with one of either Dinwiddie, Schroeder, or Oubre. One of those three is going to the Knicks. That's my prediction there. One of those three is going to end up in the Knicks. I don't think Oubre goes back to Golden State. That's like less and less likely. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, what do you think of like those three? Like, what? Those are interesting names.
If anybody moves, it's got to be Oubre. If anybody.
And Dinwiddie too. He's not gonna. I doubt Brooklyn's gonna give him a bag, right? Like
He's same thing. You need that like veteran leadership. And yeah, you have like James Harden and KD and Kyrie Irving, but Spencer Dinwiddie is a bucket. Like anywhere in the corner, Spencer Dinwiddie is a bucket.
But the thing is, he's gonna get over 20 mil, 25 mil. I highly doubt.
Yeah, that's doubtful.
So
That's doubtful.
I don't think the Nets keep him. I think Reggie Jackson is gone from the Clippers. I think he's gonna get a bag, like an insane bag.
Who pays him? I think if Reggie just does what what Montrez did and just go from LA to LA, then
if he takes a pay cut, he's gonna stay with the Clippers because it seems like he loves the Clippers. But man, like he's gonna get a insane bag, especially with this point guard class. Like he's gonna get insane. I'm trying to think of like who can maybe like need that. I'm thinking maybe if the Hornets want to maybe move on from Terry Rozier, because I know Devontae Graham is a restricted free agent. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of like where he could end up or like where it would really make sense. Maybe the Hornets, maybe the Mavs, right? Maybe the Mavs are looking for another scoring threat next to Luka. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys?
I don't really know what to take on Reggie Jackson. Just because like he's someone I'm hesitant towards, just because like he has good like these last playoffs he was really good, like kind of looking like Kobe out there. But then other times it's just like the times before that where it's like, why are you taking that shot? So I don't really know. I mean, I could see him going. Maybe the Mavs could be interesting, but in terms of like. I just don't know with him. Like, there's so many guards in here that I'm kind of curious. I just hope the Bulls I wouldn't mind if the Bulls go like a Dinwiddie or a Alonzo, like you were saying earlier, Omar. I think they could really use another point guard to help facilitate.
Hey, man, I have my questions on Reggie Jackson too, but I think we've all been pretty big sports fans for a while. Recency bias is crazy, man. Recency bias
Super crazy.
Crazy.
And Reggie Jackson is one of those players that you see Reggie Jackson, you're like, oh, it's Reggie Jackson. But then he goes out and puts up 40 points. And so Reggie Jackson has that ability, and he's a great basketball player. So I hope for his sake he gets the bag this offseason. And whoever gets him is going to get a great player.
And not
hopefully
just
if they get the good version.
He was the reason that the Clippers were as competitive as they were even when Kawhi went out, right? Like he was Markieff Morris came and went, but Reggie Jackson was balling out each game, right? Like I think he had a streak of like just 20 plus point games, right? Of like just, he was just balling out. And I don't know, like I said, recency bias is a crazy thing. So if he gets a bag, I wouldn't be surprised. Bismack Biyombo got 70-something mil off of one postseason run, and he's done absolutely.
And what is he doing now?
But he made 70 mil. Like, that's an insane amount.
And that's all I want for Reggie.
Yeah.
That's it.
The thing is, he already did that, too. He got 5 years, 90 mil from the Pistons a couple years ago. But it's like recency bias is a crazy thing, man. If you ball out like that, you're gonna get a major bag. So truly doubt he stays with the Clippers, but we'll see. I'm excited for free agency. I love that.
Yeah, I'm excited for their live stream too. Unless you guys have any final thoughts, like anything you want, or anything you just want to add to like the NBA, like we'll have our own little final thoughts section coming up in a second. But you guys have anything you want to add real quick?
I'm excited for the draft stream, and then if we do end up having the free agency stream, that'll be really fun too. Non NBA related, Mexico is gonna win the gold medal in the Olympic soccer. I love they're gonna win that. So yeah, shout out them. They made the knockout stages, and I'm not a huge fan of the Olympics. I get the time zone thing, but waking up at 4 a.m. was really tough to watch a game. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for that, but I wish I could enjoy the Olympics a little more. But I understand time zones exist. So
Just quick, so you could plug it real quick, Omar. What time is that draft live stream at? What time is it?
5 p.m. Draft
5
live
p.m.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. on Thursday. Hopefully, I upload this by tonight so people can see this. But if you do see it, join, and that we'll also be having that free agency live stream on Monday at 3. Josh, any final thoughts?
No, not really. Y'all already know my thing was like, you should pay your college athletes. Now that they're paying college athletes, I don't know what to say.
I mean, if you just want to talk about stuff related to that, like, I don't know if you've seen the headlines, like, or at least the big headline. I had it in our doc, but, we're kind of just getting towards the end of this. So, but I don't know if you've seen Quinn Ewers, who's like he's the number one prospect or the number one quarterback in the 2022 recruiting class. He's gonna skip out of like his high school season and go straight to Ohio State. Like, that's the news right now because he could make a ton of money off the NIL, and Bryce Young's also
Yeah, I
made
didn't hear
7
about
figures. And like, I don't know if you
I
saw
heard-
Alabama quarter Bryce Young, he's made 7 figures since the NIL deal. So, got any reactions to that?
Yeah, I heard about the Bryce Young, and that's what I was going to say. That is a great example of why this should have been done a long time ago. But someone asked me, what's the difference between playing professional ball and college ball now? And the difference is the amount of money that you can make, because a lot of these guys play the game of football to provide for their families. And the sooner you can do that, the more potential you can see yourself having at the professional level. So I think it's great that they are allowing college athletes to make money off of their names now. But we'll see how far this goes, because there's not a huge difference between going to the league and college football now. But I do think that I hope that players understand that this is the opportunity to stay all 4 years. You don't have to be a one and done just to go to the league to make money now. Now you can actually get that education and have something to do in case ball doesn't work out, because ball does not work out for a lot of these guys that sacrifice everything for it. And it's good that a lot of these guys are getting money off their names. So I'm just excited for them. I hope that these players start to make a lot of money, take care of the people that they love.
Yeah, no, man. And just to add real quick, Pat, before I guess we can sign off, but I guess like the point of like, oh, like what's the difference between college and professional sports now? I don't really think it's like it's still, college is still going to be college. The only difference is that these athletes aren't going to be exploited anymore, right? Like that's literally like the main thing. These athletes are not going to be exploited anymore. All they're doing is just profiting off their own image and likeness. That's it. That's literally it. Like the own brand that they've created, that they've got to now, it's like they can finally cash in on that. And we look at, like, you saw the Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young's probably going to get a shot at the NFL, things like that. But if you look at smaller schools, right? Let's use UC Davis, right? Let's keep it local. UC Davis. If you're a starter at UC Davis and you're a good player, odds are you probably won't make the NFL, but now you can make some money, right? You can make some money off of yourself, some local deals, right?
While you play the game, exactly.
And now you got some money. Maybe it's not like millions like Bryce Young, but you got at least some money to actually make. You got a little something. So it's big on that front. But obviously the only thing people are going to see is like, oh, these kids are making millions and they're going to spend it, whatever. Nah, it's much bigger than that. And a lot of local players, they're going to, especially from smaller schools, are finally going to have a chance to, make some money and maybe keep some money for the future.
Agreed. Also, I like what you said about, it gives more athletes an opportunity to stay all 4 years and get their education. Like, you don't have to, like, if you can have that backup plan of a degree, and I like how you mentioned that, Josh. In terms of what I want to say real quick, it's regarding, like, the NHL. Like, I kind of just was looking through, like, my feed and just saw that the NHL was expanding, and I just think that's really cool. And I kind of have one question regarding, like, who do you think expands first out of, like, the other three major American sports? Baseball, basketball, or football? What do you guys think is going to be the first one to expand?
Basketball for sure. I mean, even with the NHL, their team is in Seattle. Word is Pelicans are moving to Las Vegas. The financing is already there for them to do it. And there's a beautiful stadium design. Vegas already has the Raiders. The idea is to bring more people to the West Coast, specifically Vegas and Seattle. And with the NHL having their expansion team be in Seattle, they're kind of the feelers for the other major league sports. And the NBA, I think people have wanted the Supersonics back for 10 years. And and I think if they brought them back to Seattle, I think Seattle has a lot of fans, and if they brought them back to Seattle, then it's a great untapped, previously tapped market that you could dip into for both the city and for the NBA. So I think it'd be the NBA, and I think that expansion team is going to Seattle.
I completely agree with Josh. I think the NBA is going to be expansion. The only thing that I am concerned about is that the talent might take a hit because I don't know if the NBA has enough talent right now to be like, we're going to add 2 more teams and they're going to have evenly distributed talent. Right? Like, I don't know if the NBA has enough to like add for 2 more teams and still keep it somewhat some kind of parity, because parity is already a big issue right now. But like I said, probably going to be the NBA, but I have my concerns on how that's going to work. So I don't know.
Definitely interesting, and yeah, I'd probably go with the NBA too. It's just cool though seeing like the NHL have some really exciting stuff. Like you mentioned it, Josh. They're expanding into Vegas and Seattle. The expansion team in the NHL before Seattle was in Vegas with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and I mean it's just really cool to see this stuff.
And they won a Stanley Cup first season. Like, who gets an expansion team and then wins a Stanley Cup? Like, Las Vegas. So there's clearly a lot of hype around Vegas. So I would not be surprised that if the Pelicans don't move to Las Vegas, like I said, it's already planned out. So it's in the works. But if the Pelicans, for whatever reason, end up not moving, they're probably still putting a expansion team in Las Vegas and Seattle, and there's your 2 expansions right there.
The one thing I will say though, that the expansion draft in the NHL, like I'm not this like NHL like plugged in with the NHL as much as I know the NBA. But what I have heard is that the expansion draft in the NHL did get some criticism because, like the Golden Knights, for example, they got some like legit players. Like they got legit players, and that's why they were able to compete for a Stanley Cup like right away. But I doubt that the NBA, like an NBA expansion draft will look like that. I feel like there'll be more protections, but if I do remember correctly, the NHL expansion draft, like it gave teams, like it didn't let them protect a lot of good players. So that's why they were able to get a lot of good players from it. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on for sure though. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, definitely. And, if that concludes it, it was a great episode. I think we covered some really good topics. Again, tune into those live streams to Thursday at 5, my bad. And Monday.
I was going to say, don't tell them the wrong time, Patrick.
Yeah, Thursday at 5, basically during the NBA draft. I'll have this up. I'm going to commit to it. I'm not going to say I might have it up. I'm going to have it up. And of course our NBA free agency live stream that we will have on Monday at 3. So again, we'll just have our notifications on for Woj and Shams and just, of course, see what happens. So if that's it, guys, you know how we like to end it.
Go Ags!
Go Eggs!